discussion on this agenda for, as for vote? Favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none.
Mr. Mayor, I may have done this in the wrong order. Um, I would ask that item D be pulled from the consent agenda. Is it
Yeah, we'll need to back up.
need to back up? Yeah, I apologize.
Okay. So D out of the regular agenda or
Yes.
out of the consent?
Out of the consent agenda. Just pull that and discuss that separate.
Then
So-
put-
I'll
So-
second that.
okay. So that-
Yeah, and the reason is I'm going to request to be recused from that
mhm.
since that's my bride. For those y'all that don't know.
And do we need to actually pull it and move it, or can he just ask, or somebody give him that privilege right then when we get to that? We don't,
Part of the consent agenda.
oh, it's in the consent agenda, not the regular. I see it.
So
up here.
I would, recommend moving it to item
Okay.
F on the list.
So we're gonna make that F on a regular, if that's okay with all. On your, can we
Yeah,
do that with?
that's good.
Or A. It could be A.
It can be A.
All right, it shouldn't take too long. I've just got people here for, engineers here. I don't know if they still charge them when they're here or not.
It's the
Okay.
pro bono work.
Laura ain't real expensive to us right here on this deal. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move them to A.
Yeah.
Okay, and everything will move down. Okay. I got first, I got second. Any more discussion on what we're doing with that? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We got that. Okay. So now I'm gonna turn it over to the manager to make a special, presentation. Help me make a special. Not yet. It just, we got something cooking here.
Yeah, so I just want to just take a brief moment. I thank you, Mayor and Council, for this privilege. Just want to share with those in the audience, share with Council, share with the community watching at home that we have an exciting announcement. Our tax collector, Kristen Renpool, who's been in the position now coming up on 2 years. She's done great work, obviously, for the town. She was deputy tax collector before moving into this role. She's hit the ground running and doing great work on behalf of the community. One of the things that's been a part of that, and as you all know, our focus is on continuous improvement and professional development opportunities. Kristen is also very much focused on that since moving into this role. While balancing this new position, she's also been working on what's called the certified tax collector. And so that honor takes quite a bit of time to work on. So you're talking about years of classes to be able to work towards that, as well as actual experience within the position. There are exams that are a part of it. She has to pass, she has to pass, different classes and different tests. And it's really about making sure that she has the knowledge to be the best that she can be, following best practices in that role. It's not a requirement to be a tax collector, but what it shows is that it's her commitment to do what she can to be the best tax collector in this organization on behalf of this community. And I really want to thank Kristen for her dedication to that, not only for herself, but also on behalf of this community. And so if it's all right, I'm going to ask Kristen to come up and join us here. And Mayor, I'm just going to turn it over to you here for a minute as I grab the certificate.
All right. As always, we thank you for going above and beyond to make this happen and get it behind you. And I'm sure you, gathered up a bunch of peers in the tax collecting community going through this process that you can call on at any time. So I see that being a big benefit to you as you move forward. And, your husband's back here. I'm sure he's as proud as anybody. He slipped in, you didn't even know it. But anyway, come on up. Let's get a picture. Get you her.
All right.
Congratulations. thank you again. All right, moving on, anybody signed up for public comment? None tonight. Anybody in the audience here for public comment? Anything to say, gets 3 minutes worth. All right, hearing none. Council comments, Sandy?
Yeah, I would like to add something to our business meeting tonight,
Okay,
regarding wave and, or rain
great. Uh-huh.
and, discussing on what we might need or want out of it.
Okay. All right, we're adding that to the business meeting. Okay, after the UDO. Jeff, anything?
Not anything, just very proud of you, Miss Kristen, very proud. Won't be long before you're the one that people call, if they don't already.
You guys got that? Me neither. All right, moving right along, manager updates.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of additional comments for you. I know the community is really paying attention to the repair work in the North Loop. As you all know, the community and all of West North Carolina received a lot of heavy rain over the last week. And so, although a lot of the major work is done, and in fact, we dare say is in a good spot, we're not yet in a position to feel comfortable opening it up from a safety perspective yet. So we're working very hard to do so. However, the heavy rain has pushed back our timeline a little bit for that. So right now, we're going to announce June 8th. I don't know why I want to be January. June 8th. Just back 1 week from that. That'll give us enough time, the contractors enough time to really make sure that area is safe and secure for access to the river. We were really working hard to make that June 1st deadline, but again, just with the rain, I hope that the community understands. We even met with our contractors earlier this week to lay out all the next steps. So we're on track for that June 8th meeting, that June 8th opening. And so please keep up to date on our website as well as through our social media channels as we continue to push out that information. The other item I just want to mention again, it's in our business meeting about the UDO public hearing that's scheduled for June 11th. But again, since that's a little bit later and we probably have a captivated audience right now, just as a reminder, that is set for June 11th here, 6:30 p.m. In the Commons room. If you we're still collecting information. You can feel free to reach out to staff. We're happy to hear from you. We're happy to sit down and talk with you about it. ImagineMillsRiver.com is where you can get the latest information as well. And the full draft is under the document section on ImagineMillsRiver.com. So there's still time to provide your input before June 11th, and then obviously during the public hearing on June 11th itself.
What you got?
That concludes my remarks.
Need a motion to approve our amended consent agenda. Please.
Make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sandra. Any discussion on this consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, moving down here to A, we got the reappointment of Laura Moore, the Parks, Trails, and Rec Advisory Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request to be recused from that vote.
I would need a motion and a second from some of my other councils that they see fit.
Make a motion to recuse Jeff from this vote.
All right.
The fact that he's related to the applicant.
Okay. Second. Thank you, James. Any discussion, Sandy? James? All right, all in favor of letting him recuse? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
And I will leave the room.
Still okay to keep videoing though, right? Go ahead.
Doing, okay. Laura Moore's reappointment to the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Advisory Committee is up on June 30th. She is willing to continue to serve if council so chooses. So that's what I come to you tonight.
Gotcha. Discussion, comments?
Make a motion to reappoint Laura Moore to the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Advisory Committee. It's proven to be a valuable asset to the county.
Looking for a second. Discussion?
She does a good job.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Now we got to go. You want to go find him for me? I heard him go through the other door, I think. He kept checking. I just hope it ain't something he knows that we should. for you, big boy. Well, we got Mr. Moore back. We're moving on down to B, the vacancy on our Board of Adjustment. New
Oh.
vacancy. No?
The new A, the
Oh,
original.
oh my gosh, sorry, guys, about, again. Presentation with our new maintenance facility.
Yeah, yes, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to introduce this, but I'm going to ask Tom Jones from WGLA Engineering and Brian Moffett from Arca Design to come join us, please, at the front here. And while they do so, I just want to set the stage a little bit for those listening. The tonight is really a good night because it's a preliminary design for a new maintenance facility. Back in 2024, early 2024, way back then, council approved the Mills River Park expansion master plan. As a part of that was this idea for a new maintenance facility. And so in FY 26, council, you all assigned $150,000 towards those efforts to identify needs and other requirements, and then plan for that new maintenance facility. The goal at the end of this was, by the end of this fiscal year, was to bring you a preliminary schematic design. So I'm excited to say that we're on time to meet that expectation. But really, one of the things, and I will say as an aside, well, we've had great partners here as well with WGLA and with Arca Design to help us through this process. Ultimately, what we have done since January of 2026, they have helped us walk through this, and I really want to thank all of our staff, and I really want to thank Nicole Sweater, Parks and Recreation Director, for all of her hard work on this project. Is that work through a needs assessment, right? Working with staff, making sure we heard their requirements and their expectations. We did site visits as well around the community of other maintenance facilities to understand what we liked and what we didn't like. And then we sat down and worked very hard over multiple iterations of what you're about to see. Ultimately, we had three major design goals that were associated with this. Was that, first of all, it needed to reflect the results of the needs assessment. That made sense, right? That it needed to provide a fiscally responsible framework to expand the facility as the community needs grow. So what you're going to see is also, council had requested this at one point, is to say, if we're building something, let's also make sure that we can expand within that space as the community demands continue to grow. Really make it a hopefully for many, many years, decades to come, the ability to continue to grow if need be. And ultimately meet the standards that are outlined within the UDO. So again, we took that into account based off of the UDO that you all will be considering next month. So the final assessment is also going to include the repurposing of the current maintenance facility. That's not going to be before you this evening. We're still working through that. That's still very preliminary, but we wanted to make sure we at least presented what we had before you tonight and get your feedback. Tom and Brian are going to do a great job of walking you through the images that you're going to see on the screen. They're also, I think, in your packet as well. Ultimately, at the high level, construction right now, very preliminary, estimated costs are around $2.75 million. Professional services are about $300,000 associated with that. Again, that's incredibly preliminary. There's a process that we'd have to go to actually get what those costs are. This is not a bid right now. We're talking, but that's kind of where we're at when it comes to what we're projecting. Those costs, as well as contingency that we built in, are a part of the budget for FY 28 and FY 29. So we've taken that into account, walked through some contingencies, and made sure that what you've been seeing since April is taking into account what you're seeing before you tonight. After review, I just want to mention, we're going to talk a little bit more about what those next steps are. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I do have some next steps that once we wrap up, talk about how we're going to, how I propose we move. So, Tom, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you want to, you can direct us. Nicole back there we can scroll for you, but I appreciate it.
Sounds good. If you like, we can kind of go through all the kind of slides, if you will, or the pages, and then we can come back and get on anything you want to go back to them or ask questions you'd like. We appreciate that, all that work with town and you all for the project. Thank you, staff, for get the process. I think I had a little section of history, but I think Mac and I talked about how we got to where we are. There's been several meetings, that's been good feedback. made decisions. I think it's, we have a plan here that's going to be good for the town now, but also future. We think about part of phase two, a lot more to be going on, but everybody's focused on something that will work for a long time. So the first page shows where the project is. Everybody knows it's about 3.3 acre parcel you all bought like in 2022. And it's got Hooper Lane on the one side and going to the park on the west side. Parking here is pretty big shop. The current plan provides for a 6,600 square foot building, plus or minus. It is set up where you could expand the building to the south if you need to in the future. Now, it's set up to be big enough to handle what we think we're going to need for the future, but things change, needs change. So we're setting up the project on the site to even allow expansion even beyond the future if needed. There's two entrances shown on here on Hooper Lane. That's set up to basically accommodate large trucks will come around the group. That's whether it's deliveries of fuel or tractor even to accommodate that. There would be also a connection to park there. The next slide is the kind of zoomed in version of the plan. So this schematic plan shows the building and I think the budget and what we proposed so far. I think we paid the gravel. We have the parking spaces are also paved. We have 9 scratch spaces shown. Dumpster pad. There's a place for our outdoor material storage. There's concrete for that. We've got there's fencing and landscaping shown. So you have security, office, screen. That'd be roads, general, kind of keep the office itself. We're showing a stormwater cistern for water reuse. I do plan on starting built up from because we generally have bad soils out here anyway, so you can add those soils for remediation, but also for flood free. That'd be higher than anything else. Park except for town hall. We also show a generator so that this building can be used for like emergency preparedness, kind of like a command center. Y'all want to storm again. Like that's something that's felt very strong. So the next slide, I think, is Brian.
So again, really, thank you for letting us come and address you this evening. We've been doing the process. So we did go through several iterations with the staff on what they wanted inside the building and what they wanted the building to accomplish. So what you see is, I think, probably the 10th iteration that I actually sent. There's several more that never got sent. And this final one, I think, does a reasonable job of providing a large kind of meeting break room where all of the current staff and probably future staff meet. It's got a 2 smaller rooms that would be probably office, could be used for storage. It does have a reasonable size locker, toilet, shower area with a laundry. All that's kind of operates as a mud room to allow entry and exit into the main garage / utility area. We have a small engine / small equipment storage area. We do have a dedicated chemical storage area, and then it's just open garage space. The staff very much wanted to have a place where they could do some on-site repairs, not really for large vehicles. Probably sometimes we'll have a lift that can accommodate, your F-150, F-250, but I think they're mainly working there. And then they really wanted the garage area to have garage doors on both sides so that they could pull through equipment. That was one of the, I think, the first things that we changed in the design. And then we have we're extending the building over. We have a exterior covered area. You folks know that any equipment that is not covered lasts. So it'll give you a place to keep some of your trailers and stuff. So really all of the current equipment and projected future equipment can safely be stored either inside or at least under cover. And then we have some space for future expansion. This design, if you keep scrolling through, we went through a couple of different iterations looking at your design standards. And so this design is to reflect that. It's got a kind of a porch on one side for entry and one for main vehicular entry. It does currently show kind of popped up part of the roof where get some natural light in the garage area. I think all of that will probably want to keep investigating as we cost this project. But it's currently, I believe, would meet your.
Thank you, Brian. And if I may, just for communication purposes, I gotta note if we can move the mic a little bit closer. We could hear everything, but we just want to make sure we,
Gotcha.
you know,
Yeah, so these are just quick renderings. Again, nothing set. Don't get set on colors or anything like that. This is just to give you an idea of what the building could look like if we continue to move forward with it. Where I think that's a nice agricultural building. It's a reflective of. Again, one of the design goals that we had early on was to have something that it is a utility building, it's a maintenance building, but it needs to reflect the look and the aesthetic of the community. And so that's one of the things we were trying to accomplish.
Y'all have any questions about anything or talk about any specific?
Well, oh yeah, so, as the Mayor Mills River, I didn't have nothing to do with the cost that they put into that fire department. When we get to talking about almost $3 million on this utility facility maintenance building for the town, we're gonna hear about it. So we got to, keep it as nice as we think it ought to be for what we're using it for. But we need to make sure that we don't waste any money here. I'm smart enough to realize that there's going to be a ton of site work over there. And I think a lot of the money, and I ain't even heard it yet, but I'm assuming a lot of that money is just going to be getting it prepped and ready.
I think I was about 800,000 part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In-
I'm with you. Yeah. And like you say, the soils are terrible around here. So we basically float everything we got in here on fabric or, GeoGrid or something. So I'm with you. I'm gonna let these others talk a minute. I'm sure they got some questions and then we'll come back around.
Are you talking about backfilling that whole area to get it up level?
Yes, ma'am. That's what we would expect. For two reasons. One is because soils are bad, and generally when you bridge them by adding material on top of that, it'll take care of pretty much the parking areas, and you can successfully build on top by doing that. The second thing that does is it brings it up from flood elevation. So like we are talking about basically filling the entire building and parking area up. And I would actually anticipate also undercutting of the actual building footprint itself and replacing that with good material. So there's a lot of dirt improvement that's going to have to be necessary for that site.
I know there's already quite a knoll over there.
There is. We would cut that down and maybe and work with the material that is on the site, but you're still going to have to bring in more so that you can have the building up high enough.
And it's just 1 story high.
1 story high.
Because I thought at one point they had talked about having possible offices up above. And I see there's a raised part here with windows, and I assume now that that's like skylights.
Yes, ma'am. We've got some interior shots somewhere, but that's just over the vehicular bay. That's one of the very earliest versions of the design guidelines. Kind of required some different. It was not too far, but it was in response to that. Again, so this is a conceptual design. I would expect whoever the conceptual design team would want to investigate all of that. Cost on food. So I would look more at what the general size of the building, the number of spaces, rather than the specific configuration.
Okay.
At this stage, I wouldn't get too concerned about who windows or where it's at. That's
Still have to have an architectural firm draw the actual plans, or just the
that's
site
this-
guys telling us what will fit there and
Well,
what, how you'd
I mean,
prep it.
I am an architect.
Okay.
I draw these, but the,
It's
The-
not
uh,
that level of detail.
yeah, again, we were retained for the conceptual design, which I think we've done. This is a proof of concept. So yes, you can do this. It's got the pieces in it. But I would expect there to be reasonable changes that you go forward, especially if you get an estimator, basically someone who's spinning the else has the contractor that's actually going to sign a contract, tell you what the cost is. You really dial in on what is. We always talk about right sizing a project. There's what is absolutely required, what is wanted, and then there's just other things that
Yeah.
maybe you can that are within reach, but not necessarily need.
Well, don't
I
that-
wasn't worried about the windows in the building. I was worried about the functionality of it.
Yes.
And well, yeah, there'll be a value engineering potential in the future, like it costs them and beyond what you think reasonable for this kind of facility.
Right.
That popped up area, if it's not required by architectural standards, will be the first things to go.
Yeah.
But,
Or-
you know,
Or that covered area, you take that bay off.
Yeah.
There's a number of things I would do to pull the cost off that.
Sure.
we-
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Mhm.
Knowing that right now, we're looking at updated, park expansion master plan with the potential of other smaller sites for storage and other things. So we're trying to find the balance. That's, I think, the overhang part right now for the cover type. But with the park expansion, there may be other elements that need some stressors on some storage required here
Mhm.
as well. Give some life and longevity to the element.
Gotcha.
There's also bays at the top of the board that point out, try to make room for that outdoor storage area for certain types of, oil and other types of storage stuff.
Gotcha. Good. I mean, it's been well thought out. I'm assuming that those orange is culverts. Yeah, yeah, so we can get, yeah,
There's two wetland crossings,
Yeah.
one on each side. There's,
Okay.
the feature doesn't start on this, at the south end, at that first end,
Right.
there would be a problem there. We have to do it.
okay. Questions?
Right now, the concept for stormwater is the low density basically option where this parcel would be recombined with the rest of the park so that less than 24% impervious, in which case, as long as you don't collect the stormwater and catch basins and pipes, it'd basically be sheet flow to grass. So it's basically the same strategy as the rest of the park, except for the town hall bill. It's actually got better. But if you do it that way, the cost is kept down by not having to have curbs and also less storm drainage. That's the concept of the basically sheet flow that.
And honestly, with us with the park area, it might help with mosquitoes in the summer and fall. Good.
And we're also working in with, whether, one of our other engineering firms with the park expansion master plan has been reviewing, there've been conversations even at the very beginning before you even kick this off to make sure, again, any other type of work that they're all going to be in coordination with each other. Because we don't want to build one thing if it's not going to be compatible with something else. So even stormwater, there have been initial discussions about that. Great question.
Fill in
500 a year, but not, we're not.
There would be some still under year, I suppose, like, or we wouldn't have to, but we may have to, it's close right there. That
Right there where that driveway comes across.
Drive there, there's gonna be some.
The
Are
way
they
we're-
gonna have to do anything with that creek that runs down through there?
It would just have a pipe in it, yeah, it would have a pipe
Yeah.
where the driveway crosses.
I think size-wise, it's correct. Councilmember Cantrell, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can we just check your mic is on? You can make sure you're speaking to the
On.
mic. I appreciate
Can
it.
you hear me?
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Run with it. And I'm assuming the covered area, that's the thought, that's what's easiest to expand, if you move that wall down it.
Correct. That's right. As far as the paving surfaces, not much. I know some stating this, but like your impervious surfaces, you want the brick, stuff like that.
I'm an architect. I'll let him do.
Like impervious pavers in general, the concept's great, but the cost is just too expensive. People usually make that pretty quick in projects. And if you're willing to spend beyond what, typical, the average project could be, like the Sierra Nevada of the world, they knew that step. That's that. Not a project, but it's, the other thing about this specific location, the water, added concentration. You don't got
Got nowhere to put it. Yeah, that's right there where you start with.
I would generally say that, it works best under passenger vehicle parking areas. It does not work well where you've got large vehicles making big turning movements. So this is not one that I would recommend it for outside of the water tables.
And you're not really looking for infiltration of this specific site for your main thing. Street, anything like that, but it could be at least something like get a little bit of lot, like, it has a chance to be filtered in the grass. It's not fixing it straight down.
That's why we're much more interested in catching the water off the roof as a cistern. That seems like a much better application for this.
Visited Hendersonville, they did use their system.
A good bit.
Not on the building, but on down by the parking, storage.
Where now?
On the slides. Right there, proposed materials.
That'd be like mulch, gravel, things like that,
gravel,
for their
little
tractor to pick up and
boxes.
take.
So they can bop up or leave it with tractors or so.
Something like,
They, told what your
it'd be like a concrete container or.
Repass.
Exactly, yeah. So we would definitely do mulch. Obviously a big one we use, just general topsoil. We like to have on site and then usually some like ABC gravel.
Then the other pad over pretty much to the dumpster, I think. Okay.
we don't know until we start the process, but they will only want us to have one on stipulated. But they are far enough apart of the reasonable chance. It's not traffic generator, that's in our favor, and there is a drive across the street, not back up on it, but that's one across the street that I'll make that speed.
You need to look anyway.
Get them back out to 191. questions? What else you got?
I would want to see us match our design standards. Back,
We are right now, I think, with the current draft. We
but
may be,
also watching costs.
we may be beyond right now, right? We
I think so.
I think clear for the
I hope the second roof is beyond. Yeah.
The whole is proposed with them numbers, the whole, is the whole thing heated, insulated? Or is the parking
insulated and
area
it's all heated, but but the
garage door?
yeah, all the garage areas, so all the stuff to my eyes looks green on this screen.
like purplish on the top, is that what?
Right.
See?
Yeah, that's all heated and cooled. But the other is just heated. And then, because we've got the, vehicular area, we would have to have a scrubber in there for that.
Right.
And I think I've got a large fan in there and a large ceiling fan. Jerry, right?
Like on that chemical storage area, do those typically need or have to have a continuous fan pulled out?
It doesn't necessarily have to be continuous, and it all depends on the type of, how much. It's just a control. Sometimes you can do it with cabinets. Sometimes you can do it just in the room. I don't know that one, based on what I saw and what I understand that you're going to be storing there right now. I
Okay.
don't think so.
Good.
But we would have to investigate all that
All right.
pretty thoroughly with our mechanical engineering team.
Just with, hopefully some lifetime staff working here for many years, I'd like to get any of that out of there.
Sure.
That'd be a
But
cheap, yeah.
That's one of the reasons we have a dedicated room with
Yeah.
that. And we've got, it's got its own sink inside there. And then of course there's a wash and shower right outside.
Yes.
Is the concrete pad in the garage area heated also?
Not presently. But, I mean, you could, but I don't know if that would be necessary.
No.
What's the interior height, like if you wanted to, would you, do two-story offices inside of it? I'm not sure why, well, you can obviously change anything, do whatever you want to do. You don't quite have enough room currently. They've got 14-foot doors. So, 15 feet's not enough. You want 20. So you would have to pump the whole roof up, the entire volume up to get that. So you certainly could, but you're adding a good bit of cost. And you can put offices up there. Accessibility allows you to do up to 3,000 square feet without an elevator. But since you are a public entity, I would strongly recommend you don't do that. Which means if you did that, you would really want an elevator. And honestly, you've probably got enough land. If you need more office area, it's better to expand the building than to go up.
And if I may just expand on that a little bit, one of the conversations that we had very early on is that there is one office that's dedicated in here and then another storage unit. And the thought process was that if we expanded the FTEs to enough to need to have either a second supervisor or some other type position that would require a dedicated office, that storage would become that second office. And then for our park maintenance staff that again are going in and out and being out in the field all the time, that there would be more of a hoteling type setup for them. So an ability to have a location to check your email, to get on the computer when you need to be able to do something, but not have a dedicated office space like that. So and hopefully also again with the break room being the size that it is, as well as also providing other opportunities for seating and again whatever those types of needs would be.
Training.
Training needs, exactly.
They don't really have a space right now that they can do training. And anytime you're in chemicals, equipment, things like that, we really need a decent training space in there. That's what that break room.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it says break room, but it's really kind of like a multi-purpose room for that. But at least from my perspective, I can't imagine us moving towards needing two dedicated positions at a level for those two offices and going past that for a while.
What are the dimensions on the building?
That's what I remember.
What was it, 6,600 square feet?
It's something like that.
That-
Picture of a rectangle, but I can't get 80 by 80, but something like that. 50 by. Yeah.
50 by 60, not counting the covered sheet.
No, it's 50. I think it's right. No, it's not.
Pocket cut.
60, it's 60 by 60 by 100 roughly. And then it's got that extra bay.
So the bay is in the,
Correct.
that's the total coverage.
That's the total public area. But, when you build a building like this, you're not, I mean, you're saving a little bit by not pushing that wall out, but not on, you still got the roof, you still got the, so you've already bought that. You're just saving that little bit, the 2 little bits of involved.
But the building itself is 60 by 100.
Yes,
So Tom, help me understand, where's the sewer, they're gonna be,
Basically, in my mind, to the, actually, my first page shows kind of the route.
thought you had it.
oh,
Like this light green line on there, closest thing at the restroom building. Hospital building. All the more reason that's generated.
Triggered it. And then we said we might as well,
The town on the.
yeah, then we said we've got to,
There,
you got to have one. Let's just go ahead and have it do the whole building.
water for that. Can we come back up to 191 and grab it, or are we going, because we really don't have a good source inside here to hook anything up to, do we?
the closest is City of Asheville water line on Beaver. Definitely all the way back to 191, get back to the city, or then on how the rest of the phase 2 stuff, but maybe some options come back to the park.
I'm sure on this deal, before building permit's full, we'll have to decide who we're gonna use for water, correct? Correct. Get our taps established.
I think right now, it's probably about the off of you west. You have to kind of know what your Addison's well, not big enough, or you get.
And I think it's going to determine based off the timing. Right now, it's set for 2029. We have their utility work that's going down one as well. What that, whether or not there's opportunities there, based off of their timing as well. So we'll take all that into consideration.
With us, it's a little bit, well, maybe not me, cause I'm out of here, but whoever's sitting here, that's a little political. I mean, here when the time comes to pull it back. Be honest. Okay.
The last thing I'll mention is, we're very keen on calling this a maintenance facility. Right now, we're focusing on it being predominantly used for parks. The other thing that we have had conversations about is obviously we don't know what future service delivery looks like within the town. Again, that's for future councils to decide as well. But we're also looking at what the site could look like, 5, 10, 15 years, and trying to make it as multifunctional as possible. And so, I don't know, some may look at this and say it's a park maintenance facility and the cost structure, but we're also trying to think through and future plan for what other maintenance type needs may come forward for the town that we're going to have to address.
Well, it's gonna be very smart to get this out front as much as we can. I know we got some stuff we gotta do here to fulfill our grant obligations, but to get something over there is just gonna be much needed. We need it now, but it would be very much needed as soon as we start adding anything on. And I think we'll be good stewards of the taxpayers' money to get our infrastructure going, get this going, and then progress with that park expansion on out through there later on.
And that may be a good segue as well. I don't want to stop any questions, but that's a good segue to the schedule. The schedule that, Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot here to talk through a little bit of the general schedule. But it is also reflective of the budgeting process that we've gone through in the 5-year forecasting, to the mayor's point, to try to align all of those elements to make sure we're meeting the needs at the appropriate time for the community. If you, if you can, it's brief.
Well, just, things take a long time now to get approved from the site standpoint. for instance, we'll have to get the stream piping, those pipes, that through by Central Florida engineer, that takes time, right? And then you can't get your land disturbance permit without that. Like, things are kind of one permitting agency won't approve something unless somebody else has already issued theirs. So like, I've estimated at least 7 months of permit. That's probably, that's about the best case really right now.
Probably like a year.
Yeah, allowing a year is kind of overstretching the funding project. So that's a lot of the sketch. I think that's looking at it. Like, this one, want to start tomorrow. You gotta do the drawings and everything. It's still this long permitting process.
So with what we've got drawn up so far, we could probably start moving ahead with the permit process. Before it all, we still need a few more drawings.
It's still,
Okay.
I got figured out based on y'all comfortable with this plan to do. That's enough to kind of say, okay, we're gonna move forward the project. And you start doing details for all the vacancies, like then Jeff asked about the DOT, we're gonna start sending drawings to them, rates, mention for the drivers, go, like all that stuff. Well, we're not there yet.
And that may be a good segue as well for what the potential next steps would be. So, council, you all had requested this for this year. We wanted to make sure you all were able to see this and be able to react to it and get that, your high level perspective on this. My recommendation is that generally speaking, if you generally approve of what you see before you to move to the next step, I would recommend that you ask the Park Advisory Board to look at this, provide any other feedback they have. I believe they're meeting on June 30th. Is that correct, June 30th? And so they would be able to talk about it at that point, provide any further feedback. If that comes back, whatever that feedback looks like, if it's, relatively minor, right? If it's more major and we need to go back, then obviously that's the point of it. But if it's relatively minor, we already have 2 items on the July council meeting. I know normally we have one, it's a pretty quick meeting, but since we have a second requirement that you would either do July or the first meeting in August, to have a conversation about that formal approval of the concept and to move forward with the project method that we would be looking at. And I'm happy to go into what my thoughts are on what that project method should be right now, generally speaking. But that's really kind of what the timeline would be. The next kickoff would be around that time. Does that make sense?
Yes. One question, publicly, can we put a gate on that driveway that comes out of the circle parking lot? Or would we want to leave that open for through traffic coming in and out of the park? So they got one?
Yes, we have a gate on that. A gate on all 3 sides.
See, and there's one. I got them. I see them now. I
We
can't.
were thinking we were going to close the whole site.
Yeah, it's gonna be a headache if you're trying to dip up mulch with a tractor and people's coming behind, it's just a disaster.
And it'll secure the whole thing at night too.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I was thinking about, not security.
That's been one of the, we've talked about security multiple times about this, but we're fencing, but also like the landscaping, also screening what's there, so we don't see as much from, above that, see what equipment you have. Like right now, it's kind of fishbowl, I guess, where your main stuff is, but.
If you wanted to take a guess, Tom, or whoever, if we, what do you think the difference in money is in what we gotta do for landscaping, screening, and all that with the Mills River requirements? What does that add to this project? If you're just taking a guess versus just out in, somebody put this same building up out in Eddyville with no requirements.
If it had any.
Yeah.
This so far, landscaping shown here isn't really, to me, your ordinance or an ordinance. It's probably just the concept of having landscaping. So it looks good, but also screen. I think budgeting, I was thinking that we're like, only have about $20,000 landscape. I can't promise that's enough. Too much relative to your ordinance. It's
Just a number, plug in number.
it's a placeholder to have an allowance there.
Yes.
Did that include the siding on the building versus what's required for the building?
There's a little bit of money in that. I don't know. I would hazard it's probably 35%, or some, honestly, your requirements are not that onerous, I'm working on a lot of jurisdictions. These are reasonable. What the town's asking for is reasonable, for a building of this size. They just, your requirements just say you can't have basically metal siding. So you're really precluded from, using another building, but you just go to a building of this size. We could still do a metal building and do a different siding on it. We'll look at that, but, the economics of a pre-manufactured metal building come from pre-manufactured pieces, which include the siding. Once you kind of walk away from that, you might as well just stick build it. But, it's just, you can do a board and batten cement fiber and make it look really nice. And that's a pretty economical, siding. It honestly probably lasts as good or better than metal siding. It's certainly easier to fix and paint and repair and replace as you go. So, I didn't find the final revisions. I didn't find them to be that bad.
Maximum building size is not gonna obviously affect this project. I think that's gonna be one of the big ones about this. Get up against that more often. That's what that one was the one I think. This all get more 70,000.
70 in it. So yeah, if I can, I'm design review for City of Asheville, downtown commission and design review, and so I can put on a different hat. Kicking projects into what we consider a conditional zoning is not the worst thing in the world. So you're not precluding people from building those projects. You're just saying that it's going to enter a political process where you're not saying that people can't build those projects. It's just not use by right. And there's going to be a process that people take. And as long as people understand kind of what the rules are and there's a predictability to the process, it's honestly like my side of the world on both sides. When I'm on either side of the table, that's still okay.
So-
Sorry, I know that's not the topic for this.
So right now, the siding on the building is cement fiber, okay, and the roof is
A metal roof.
a metal roof, okay.
Anything? Need to take just a minute to get us through the next step.
Yeah,
I prefer that thing be in August.
Yeah, so no, again, council, this is your timeline. I was just throwing out suggestions. So, if you all are amenable to it, and what I would ask is at least a consensus for council to the Parks Advisory Board to be able to provide the feedback. I think it's very helpful, to give them clear guidance that you all are generally supportive for them to then have their feedback.
Right.
And so, I would ask for that. And then again, when that comes back, let's just say it's August. But right now, we're still talking through what the best method, for moving forward, whether or not it's design build, or construction manager of risk. Right now, my recommendation, if you were going to ask me, is the construction manager at risk format, project method for this. I'm talking to a lot of my counterparts around the community, and that method ultimately makes the most sense because for a project that's over 3 million, we know that monetary amount is going to be vitally important for the community. That provides greater transparency on the front end on what that guaranteed max price would be for council to think about and to approve. And then also it still allows us to have the design and the architectural firm. We bid that out separately, but then we'd be working in tandem very early on. It also allows us to not to use what we consider to be the most qualified construction manager at risk as a process, because I know that this council and the community cares about well-designed facilities, and then making sure that we're putting something on the ground that won't necessarily have major issues. We want to make sure that we're mitigating those major issues that can sometimes happen. That may happen through other options, right? So this one, council, you all would approve, if you all gave me that direction. Ultimately, we'd go through an RFQ process. You all would get the ultimate say on the most qualified construction manager or CMAR. And at that point, then, as well as lets you know with the architect, et cetera. So you all are in the process at the beginning, helping to provide that guidance. And then from an actual building perspective, we're going to be able to work closely with both that construction manager as well as the architect throughout that entire process. So the goal would be to limit as many change orders that are necessary, to have the cost go up. In my way, it's one of the most, but the other way of putting it is going through the CMAR process. I know it's new for this community, or I believe it is. The CMAR process, that we like to say, is the highest cost that you will see on the project. Because at the end of the day, you have the guaranteed max price. Where usually if you go through design bid build or design build, that's the lowest price that you're going to see because it's the lowest qualified bidder. But it doesn't preclude cost overruns and cost increases and COs, et cetera. So it depends on which way you all want to manage that risk and go into a lot more detail later on. That's my recommendation. I will say as an aside, I did talk to Henderson County. Most of their projects right now, larger and smaller, use this process. They've been really, they think very highly of this process, and they've assured me that through using that, they have not had cost overruns. They have not gone over budget at any point, and their projects have been done on time. And see, at least from my perspective, those are two things that are vitally important projects like this. I'm happy to answer any further questions you have. That's the overview.
I was thinking that they do that do they typically do that for a percentage? Or do they just do it for a contract flat rate price?
So it would be on a fee. I would turn to them. Typically, it would be on a fee base.
First of all, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We've been talking about this a bit. So, the as Matt stated, you would do a QBS qualification-based selection for the design team. Normally, what we would do is that we would have a schematic up to close to a design development set, and then you would go and do a RFQ, request for qualifications, and a request for proposals for the CMAR process. And then you go through when you receive they would give you a preliminary guaranteed max price based on that. And what they generally do is they give you, here's our general conditions, here's our fee. And so that it is their general conditions is based on the duration, projected scope of the project, and then their fee is a percent base.
Okay.
And then once we finish, and then they would give you a pre-construction fee that they usually put it back to the job. That's how everybody around here does it. Once you get to the final GMP, they would work with the design team through. So for us, CMAR is the best way for the owner, the design team, and the contractor to all become partners early in the process, to work together early in the process. Risk can never be destroyed; it can only be managed or increased. And CMAR manages it by bringing it out in the open from the very beginning. And then once you get to they would assist the design team in pricing options and getting that GMP in range. And then we would finalize the drawings. They would then take the drawings out to bid. So they would bid all the major trades. You would probably get 2 or 3 bids, sometimes more than that. For all your major trades, that would be an open, transparent process. And you would see all the bids, they would be in a packet that you would receive whether you looked at them or not. It would be there. And at that point, then you have a final GMP. And most of the time when we do this for both public and private work, they do have a fee in there. They do have a construction contingency in there, and then there's that's returned. It's drawn down on and then returned. The balance returned back to the owner at the end of the project. So for our purposes, it's kind of become I very rarely do jobs that are not that anymore. We do some design build. We have done design bid build. Henderson County, we did design bid build for the EMS facility on Howard Gap just a couple years ago. That was design bid build. But design bid build only really works when you've got a really well-known almost like commodity design, you know, the equivalent of sugar or salt, where it's just a commodity and you kind of know what you're getting. Anything that's a little finicky, Seymour is really the way to go. That's my 2 cents.
So you familiar with this?
That construction manager
Yeah.
at risk, I mean, yes and no.
Okay,
Uh,
kind of with you, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. That's what I do for a living, just not on the commercial side, but it's just hard to believe that we're gonna have to hire somebody to oversee the building of so-called maintenance building. That's fine,
It's,
but I get it.
it's still a general contractor. I mean,
That guy is gonna be the
yeah,
GC.
it's the general contractor, so.
So he's not overseeing a general contractor.
No.
He is the, that helps.
Still part.
It's just a relationship.
But
He's taking-
it's the, you're hiring, I don't know that I could get them for this, but it's Norway, it's Beverly Grant. it's
I know what you're
Grant,
saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you're
it's-
saying.
And they're acting as the CMAR, but they're the GC. And so they provide, again, a preliminary GMP at an early stage. That's how you make your, you get a kind of apples to apples selection process. You're looking at their qualifications, you're looking at the team. You're also looking at what they put in general conditions and what they pull out as fee. If you're in construction, you know, that's where the sauce is made. And we can kind of dictate some of that to them. And then we get the drawings, we get the final GMP with their final price, and that's the GC, you know, so if you selected, say, XYZ instruction, as the CMAR, XYZ, they're gonna be ones pulling from it. There's.
So help me with this. Like when we did some of this here, you know, we elected to hire site work and we paid for it before buildings was ever grown.
Mhm.
So over there, would it be just one GC overseeing the whole dirt work, the whole product? Okay. I see what you're
Pretty
saying.
much turnkey. And then the guaranteed max price, GMC, GMP, excuse me, hold on, that's single. And then,
Right.
that construction manager at risk is taking the risk. It goes above that, they gotta come up with the money, so they're gonna bid some of that in. Then there's also, if I heard you correctly, a pot of money
That's correct.
that if they can save some money, the town gets it back.
That's, the ones
The
over
owner-
generally,
A
involved
percent of
with, there's a percentage of the construction contingency and that can be returned to the owner.
Yeah, not to get too much into the specific percentages, but those, and within the contract, it would be, again, there's negotiations that would go before, but there, and that's the other part that's really nice about this, is that there are negotiations up front. There's the conversations that are there. But there's usually a percentage within the construction contingency that would be, returned, something like that too.
I see.
And so, but what it also does, at least from what our research has been, and what we've talked about, is that it also provides that budget guidance, because again, no construction manager at risk wants to eat into any profit by going over what that GMP is.
That's right.
Right, so getting close to that, getting as accurate as possible before touching anything in contingency, right, because that's what contingency is designed for, is also vitally important. So we're not gonna have situations, again, that all of a sudden you get scope creep, where all of a sudden it just starts to balloon out, the cost of the project. We know upfront, and you all as council would approve that cost and say, hey, we're comfortable with that or we're not, but the moment you all are comfortable with it, if it goes over, that's the risk that they're associating with it. And you'll be doing it off of the most qualified bidder that you all have chosen based off of a scoring metric that
That's
staff would first be able to look at, assess and provide you all with guidance, but ultimately you all get to choose who you believe is the most qualified.
That's right.
It makes more sense then. More question?
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Is there
Okay.
a consensus for, to move to the,
Planning board?
just Parks, Trails and Recreation Advisory Committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This as long as we don't stay on the agenda too long.
So we want to finalize their work.
Meeting in August.
Thank you.
I believe we need to take a quick break if we could. Sure.
A couple of technical people. No problem.
Uh,
All right, we need a motion to go back in. Session.
And I'll second.
So I got a first, a second, any discussion on why we're going back or why we did what we did? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we're back in. So let me get my head right there. We're back now to B on our original, right?
And if-
Vacancy of the,
I apologize, Mayor.
is that right?
Well, yeah, it is. I was just going to say, is there anything, since we cut off quickly on the last item, is there anything else remaining on that before we?
On the maintenance building?
Yes, sir. Just want to make sure. Okay.
No, no.
Thank
What's this, I'm
Yep.
looking this up right now, but. Lot is recombined into the town plot,
Uh,
as long as you're trying to fill in a whole lot, I think you're going against.
We would have to, so the plan is to put it as a part of recombination, to the rest of the park. In fact, we're looking at with the park expansion project, what they're driving on as well, is exploring actually doing a recombination. Because, if you look at the map, there's a whole lot of little tiny parcels that for some reason, historically we have not recombined, into one. So we're planning on bringing all that together for council. Okay.
So is this concerning like the 100-year floodplain? Is that what you're thinking?
You couldn't, if we just left that parcel
Yeah.
separate, you couldn't fill.
Yeah, so we are not, and the plan right now is that
But is it really being filled or is it just being replaced? I mean, the land has been raised up already, correct?
No, it'll be
There.
filled.
It will be
Yeah.
definitely filled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I believe, Tom mentioned this earlier, is that this is under the assumption that, the town would recombine that with the larger parcel as well, since it is a park.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, since it is a park property now, we just haven't gone through that, process. But as I mentioned, there's also gonna be a discussion, like for some, I'm sure there was a great reason at the time, but I think, the maintenance facility, that's a tiny parcel right around that. For some reason, there's like a little tiny cutout just as the parcels were put together that we're having a discussion about recombining it in actually one park property. Or maybe two, depending on what we're trying to do, two large projects. So, okay. Yes, ma'am. No, absolutely. And we want to be good neighbors, and we also want to make sure we protect our own assets at the same time as well. So yeah, both of those will be in consideration. Absolutely.
Anything else about the maintenance building? Hearing none. All right, let's move on to B, our vacancy for our Board of Adjustment. It looks like we got two vacancies.
You-
Take it away.
Okay, right now you have a vacancy on the Board of Adjustment. Your gentleman that was serving as the second alternate position has moved out of the town, so he's no longer able to serve on the board. So right now we have a vacancy for the second alternate position. In June, the end of June, you're gonna have another vacancy for a regular board member who no longer can continue to serve on there. So, but right now, let's just deal with the second alternate position. You've received 2 applications on file. Took one last night, one came in at the last minute, and the other one that's been on file for a couple of months, I've been unable to get a hold of him. So I'm not sure if he's if he's still interested in serving.
Is, do you know, Board of Adjustment take anything,
We've got a meeting coming up on June the 9th to hear 3 variances.
what does that board have to have a forum?
You would need 4, but for a variance, it would have to be a unanimous decision.
On the five, so,
Mhm.
Mayor and Council, I'm so sorry to keep asking this, but maybe move the microphones a little bit closer to us or sit closer again, just to make sure that they pick that up. I appreciate that. July 1st, we're, full rebate.
gotcha.
So there's currently 6 people. You got the 5 and the 1 alternate.
There's 5 and then 2 alternates, but we then have the vacancy of the alternate right now.
Right, so
Yeah.
there's a total of technically 6 people.
6 right at this moment,
Okay.
yes. Mhm.
So help us out, Patty. So if if the member, the acting member steps away, but for whatever reason, does the first alternate automatically move up and come the night of the meeting to make a full quorum, or how? does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
However, just so you know, the alternates stay alternates. Like when I get the vacancy on the board coming up the end of June, then I will come to you and ask for you to fill that position from any applications we have on file. But as far as hearings go, yes, that's how it works. Your alternates step up to fill the space.
We appoint to the position.
Yes.
Yes. Not
Yes.
to.
Yes.
So, so that night, they could still have 5 here, and it could still be a 4-1 vote, because the alternate stepped into place to hear the variances. Is that right? Am I hearing that right?
Okay, I'm confused.
So on June the 9th, you're
Mhm.
gonna have, 3 variances heard.
Right.
Am I hearing right that one member will already be gone then, or will he be present for that? Or,
He's already left. No, he's back. Mr. Foster is my first alternate. He will be sitting on the board that night because I need this, I need
so
him
you will
to.
have a full board
I
of
will.
5.
Mhm.
Okay, then it
Yes.
takes 4 to pass or deny.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so, okay, so we're not in panic mode.
Right.
Okay.
So you have some options. You
Yeah.
can appoint from one of the applicants on file to the position of second alternate. Or we can continue to advertise the position, and I ask council to get out and talk to people, try to get people interested in serving on boards. And we can talk about it at a later meeting.
I did see where Mr. Grass put his in for
Mhm.
planning board and board of adjustment.
Yes.
I think I seen, it's just been several years since I spoke with him.
Right.
So I don't know, and these are real important boards, I feel, to be filling these positions. So I want to make good selections for these as they represent our town
Right.
and and the community members coming and asking for variances and different stuff.
I agree with Shannon on that. I mean, being that it came in last night, I hadn't had a chance to look at
I
it.
I almost called Pat to see if he could attend again tonight, but, that'd be short notice for him too.
And, the other applicant, he may be.
Yeah.
In summertime, he may be on vacation or something, so I wouldn't be opposed to keeping it.
Digging that down. Okay. So when can you put us back on the agenda to look at this again and reach out? We'll try to get others. We'll maybe get Mr. Grass to show up for the next one, so on and so forth.
So the next 2 meetings,
Are pretty tight.
June 11th is the UDO
Mhm.
discussion. And then the next one is June 25th. We may have that in front of us, but that one may be light enough to be able to have this discussion.
Well, in my opinion, it's
Yeah.
council's pleasure, but in my opinion, I don't see the harm in moving it to that late out. They usually don't have a meeting in July if they can avoid it, correct?
Correct. They'll have the meeting in June
Yeah.
and then they'll have a meeting in August.
Right. So that's really giving us a little more time.
I agree with that.
So somebody make us a motion to, do however y'all see fit, and then we'll see where it goes.
I make a motion that we table this until the August meeting.
Are you want to go to the last meeting in June possibly? That's what we're shooting for,
Don't we
June
have
28th.
budget?
The budget is on June 16th. Current.
Last meeting in June.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we got first, second, any discussion on what we're doing?
Is the planning board or board of adjustment going?
This is
We're-
just,
We're just dealing with board of adjustment right
Right
now.
now.
so it's
Okay.
untitled. Okay, so we got first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, so we got that one moved down. Move right on down to C, our vacancy for a planning board. Yes.
Okay, on the planning board, the same gentleman that moved is no longer, he served on the planning board. He's no longer able to serve on the planning board because he doesn't live in town limits anymore. You have 3 applications on file for the planning board. So you can appoint from one of the applications on file, or you can continue to advertise for the position. And we can discuss it at a later date.
Does anybody know what planning board has got on their agenda for their June meeting? anything of importance that sticks out to you?
There's going to be I believe it's dealing with a property off of Schoolhouse that will be discussed, but I don't have, details on that one yet.
Okay.
But there will be enough present though for
So we'll
6 out of
have enough
7.
for 'em. Okay.
And I
Okay.
think Anika's here.
Discussion.
I mean, we're kind of the same situation with the application.
Yeah.
You reached out, said,
There's a couple others, but we know who they are.
yeah,
Uh,
I wouldn't be opposed to.
make a motion.
So I make a motion to table the appointment for the planning board till the same meeting.
I'm looking for a second. Got a second. Discussion. Anybody got anything? I would really like to see our community people come out and put in some applications. I mean, everybody's got time to stop and discuss these matters at the Ingles and at the convenience stores and everywhere else. I'd really like to see a few of them step up the plate here and get in here and serve. I mean, the worst you're signing up for is a 2-year commitment. And as you can see, if something comes up, you're easy out, you will replace it. But I really need people in the community to step up to these boards. They help us tremendously. And, if we get a planning board brings recommendations to us and we feel a little bit more comfortable pushing some of this stuff through, we may negotiate and mess with it a little bit, but typically we try to keep it pretty much status quo. But there's plenty of people out there, and it takes some time, but not a whole lot of time. We need to get you stepped up. We need to get you come out and help us here.
One thing I would also like for the council to consider is when you put so many people out of the family on all the boards and something happens is what got us here where we are now. They moved and left a bunch of vacancies. And I think we have a lot more people now who might be willing to reach out and serve. I don't have a problem with Laura being on the board. She's been on there for a long time. She has served us well, and we greatly appreciate it. I don't think they're going to, but not picking on y'all, but for moving forward, I think we kind of need to, spread it out a little bit, because with one family leaving, it created 3 vacancies.
And you know who you are out there. I mean, if you're a good qualified person for these positions, just don't be bashful. Come do it. I mean, if I can be the mayor of this town, we got plenty of planning board people out there. I promise.
I totally agree. And yeah, it was a little uncomfortable when the 2 of us served on boards. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. But I think it's very important that the Board of Adjustments is so important. And the mindset for the Board of Adjustments to be able to come in, put everything behind you and just listen to the experts, and then make your decision there. We can get in a lot of trouble, through that board. That's why it's so important. We really need people to come be part of it. It's rewarding, and you get to be part of something rather than just sitting back and letting life happen around you, because that's what's going to happen. So we really need the help, and the boards are very much appreciated.
They do a lot of hard work.
Oh, very much so. Got first, second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And none. So the vacancy of Park Trails, we got 2 on it still.
Do you have a current vacancy? We had someone move out of the town, so we've got a vacancy. You've got 4 applications on file and 2 of your applicants are in the audience tonight.
Okay.
So you can appoint from one of the applications on file.
In the applicant here, if it-
So council's pleasure on this.
Uh,
I don't,
Can I say one more thing?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you have the current vacancy. The end of June, you're gonna have another vacancy because John Case he's not gonna continue to be on the board. So if you're able to, and then can you, can you deal with the one vacancy tonight for the 2-year term beginning tonight for 2 years? And then if you're interested in appointing someone else also, have their term begin June 30th. So it would pick up where John Case is left off. That way you don't have to do this again if you don't want to.
Exactly. If council wants the applicants.
And the motions are, yeah.
Motion for stuff.
So if y'all are trouble with that, we could get this one behind us and move on. Kicking the can down the road with this one. I think we got 2 valid applicants here for this. It's just a matter of which.
Who goes first?
Which one you put them in.
I
Who
make
wants to
a
go
motion
first?
that we appoint Amanda Parr to the Parks, Trail and Recreation Advisory Committee.
Which one, start date or something.
When does that renew?
On the back side.
2 years. Okay, for, the term that would begin at the next meeting? Tonight, for a 2-year term.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
I'll second that.
Appreciate it.
All right, and any more discussion on that one? All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. Now somebody help us out. Let's go ahead and get,
I make a motion to appoint, Peter Van Stratton to the Parks, Trails and Recreation Advisory Committee to a 2-year term ending June 30th, 2028.
And I'll second that.
any more discussion on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Yeah. You can still come to the next meeting and be there. Yeah.
All right.
I would just like to say a quick note. I would like to thank the Rosses for their service. Or anybody who volunteered on the board contributes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, moving down here, the presentation of our proposed 26-27 budget. I will say if, people online or people in the audience find us not thinking we're not paying attention, we have spent many hours on this ourselves. This will be new to y'all, but we've heard it
We've
several
heard it.
times over.
We had it explained and
Doing this
Yeah.
for y'all.
I promise, there are some slides that I feel like I can move quickly through tonight.
Okay, thanks.
So, Mayor and Council, I really do appreciate, the time and energy you all have put into this process. It's not easy. It's in fact, as I've mentioned many times, it's, one of the most, solemn duties that we have as a local government on behalf of our community is to provide a balanced budget that reflects the needs, desires, and expectations of the community in which we serve. I really want to thank you all for your leadership and your guidance throughout, the past about 5 months now, but also throughout the entire year. And I really want to thank the staff sitting behind me and the staff at home right now for all of their hard work throughout this budget. I hope, as you all see, reflects their hard work, their efforts, your expectations, your policy direction, and ultimately meets the community's needs. So before I forget, we are coming up on the very end here. Tonight is the proposed budget. So again, we've gone through the recommended budget. We've had budget workshops. The budget workshop was last week. We've had budget previews prior to that. Tonight is the official proposed budget based off of the conversations that we had that culminated at last week's budget workshop here at town, in the Commons Room. It was a good 5-hour discussion. At least I'll say it was a good 5-hour discussion. I hope you all agree. Tonight, we're going to go just very briefly talk through the changes that have happened, the direction that you all have provided, and then ultimately what we see the next 5 years. There have been some minor changes, again, based off of your direction and updated numbers. And we'll talk about what's next. Again, as you're going to see here, our vision, mission, and values are going to continue to drive all of these discussions moving forward, and you're going to see it more explicitly going into July 1st. I'm excited to say we're here on the green dot, proposed budget, we've already actually scheduled the public hearing. That public hearing is scheduled for June 16th. So tonight, again, this is your ability to provide commentary on what you see before you. Then ultimately, the community has their ability to speak on behalf at the public hearing on June 16th. But that doesn't stop the community from reaching out and providing that comment sooner. And so I'll provide that information a little bit later on. Ultimately, at the end of the day, July 1st, 2026, we must have a balanced budget in place per North Carolina law. In the bulleted area, those are the five folded areas. Those are our core services, but as you can see, nothing has changed since the last part. With all the services the community, the town provides the organization on behalf of its citizens. Your strategic direction. Again, this is a high-level overview. I highly ask anyone within the community watching right now to please, again, pull this up, and we're going to be pushing this all over our website coming up soon as well. But really, this was the guide. These were the guideposts for us this year and moving forward. You're also going to see in the budget book now this year our vision, mission, values, goals, and objectives language. And again, this is where we're going to try to achieve over the next 1 to 5 years as well. And FY27 is the first year to work towards those goals. I'm using the term strategic operating plan and not budget. And I know I introduced this to you all at the last meeting. Ultimately, the strategic operating plan is a comprehensive long-term goal plan that also provides short-term operational tactical execution. In other words, the FY27 budget is built within this document. The CIP for the next 5 years is built within this document, but there's so much more because we provide for the community a transparent approach to how we got to those approaches, what those priorities are, why they are, and where we expect to go over the next 5 years. Again, it's ultimately a roadmap to communicate with the public why we're doing what we're doing and what we're doing on their behalf. 27, there are 3 main goals and objectives. Those items have not changed since before. When it comes to park expansion, updating our roads, our town-owned roads, and then also prioritizing attracting and retaining and cultivating engaged workforce around professional development and training. 27 proposed budget. It's a 2.49% increase over FY 2026. The latest numbers that we have rounded down is 1 cent of the tax rate equals $234,000. Again, that's slightly up from the 233.9 that we showed before. It is still focused on making sure we're keeping sound fiscal approaches to make sure we keep financial health and resiliency at the top. Never more so than just thinking about the FEMA projects that we still have going on, making sure that we're prepared for whatever the future holds. And then ultimately being guided and showing you all how we're trying to achieve the direction you all have set forward. This is just the change from the budget workshop. As I mentioned, there's not a lot. Through updated I'll just say this, through the discussions at the budget workshop, there were 2 major directions that council provided. One was looking at increasing council salaries for half the year based off of the salary study discussion that we had at the budget workshop. So again, that would kick in January 1 right now. But again, that's dependent on the further direction that we have going into the fall. And then also increasing the capital expenditures to cover the additional $35,000 for the commons room AV upgrades. And so I think we're very excited to get going on that project as well. And so in doing so, though, ultimately the budget didn't change when it came to the dollar amount, because At the same time, we were able to find through more actuals a reduction of $18,000 on the administrative expenditures line item, and then also an increased estimate and projection on interest income. So again, by balancing those two out, ultimately it helped to cover the difference in the governing body $3,000 increase that would happen on the salary line, and then capital expenditures for 80 at 35,000. I'm very excited about that. Personally, I want to make sure that, again, we're not touching any more of our fund balance, and I want to be able for us to argue why the fund balance is what it is. I think we have a good argument for what it is currently. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't adjusting that or getting into any areas that were uncomfortable. Mentioned at the top, property tax rate is 17 cents. This is how it breaks down. Overall operating revenues, overall, as you can see, is $9.9 million. So some people may say, wow, I saw $7.6 million before on the operating revenues and or the overall general fund budget. Why is that there? It's really looking at what you see of those project specific grant revenues, that the difference that's in there. So we want to make sure full transparency, it's there. And then ultimately the other financing sources as well, we broke it down between capital project reserves, and you can see the appropriated fund balance. So the general fund revenues are about $12.1 million. But again, as a reminder, we're going to break down what those are. It's really looking at the capital projects overall that we're trying to focus on and balance. So, Julie, did I miss anything else on these items? I like having Julie here right now, because when I say something really wrong on the finance, she can finance side, she can just like elbow me. The general fund expenditures here, same stuff as we talked about before. There were no changes from the workshop to here. Same benefits packages, same retirement contributions, etc. The one thing I do want to mention, again, there are no new full-time equivalent employees that we have associated with this. We did add additional hours to the part-time weekend park ranger because we think we're going to have to revamp that position a little bit, but it's not actually going to kick us into an increased FTE. So we had 13.5 last year, we have 13.5 this year. Any addition, maybe it would kick up into that 14 FTE more. And again, from council's perspective, any increased FTEs must be approved from council as well. So we're also being mindful of that. If that changes, we'd be bringing that to you. The position promotions, I'll gladly share with you. Kevin Webb in his position has been working incredibly hard over the years and has met all the certifications and requirements to move from a planning technician to a planner one. And so we're very excited to be able to say that that the budget reflects that. And also our administrative assistant, Brittany at the front desk, she's been doing so much on behalf of the town when it comes to communications. She's been working very much focused on community relations and communications relations moving forward, and also seeing the additional need for that type of work here, especially when we're talking about messaging to the community, social media, our newsletters, building that up. This budget also recommends a promotion to what we call a community relations specialist. So she would still be at the front desk, but again, community relations specialist outlines what she does. I think it spells out a lot more what she does on a day-to-day basis, but also giving her the training and the opportunities there to really increase our messaging to the community, both outward and then also our inward communication as well. Any questions on this? The overall budget, as you can see in FY26, is about 7.4 million. And if anybody's sitting at home and they haven't fainted looking at the FY27 recommended budget of 12.1 million, give me a quick second to highlight the capital projects line right above. There's $4.9 million. This is all capital projects. This includes all of the FEMA projects that we're looking at right now: the park expansion project, the the maintenance facility project, all the work that we're looking at in FY27. Just because we have to show them as capital projects does not mean we're draining those funds from the available fund balance. Again, capital project funds, FEMA grant funds, those grant project funds are where the majority of those funds are coming from. Anything else, Julie, on this one of note to call out? As you can see on the percent differences here, for the most part, they're relatively small. The higher increases tend to be where in those smaller departments, except for in the economic development one, again, that increases because the $25,000 that the council has directed us for EIF. And council requested that EIF funds be allocated towards projects within Mills River. We have received confirmation that that will be the case moving forward. So that's why it is shown here. Any questions? I'm just going to say at the very high level here, we did call out capital expenditures in the general fund. Those are like those smaller the in smaller type capital projects. That's 471,500, but we really wanted to make sure that the community is aware that almost $4.5 million is looking at FEMA and major capital project expenditures. That's the reason why. You're going to see that reflected in the budget book as well. Okay, and that's a strategic operating plan. We would be very transparent about that. Is there anything else, Julie, on this item?
No, just to reiterate that the increase that you directed for the AV is in the 471. You remember from the budget workshop, that was 436. So that $35,000 is reflected in the general fund capital expenditures, not in the total 5.
And there's a slight decrease in the operating as well, again, from that balance. Yes. Billy, you want to talk us through the capital projects that they see? Anything of note to mention?
So in that $4.9 million, you see the 5 major FEMA capital projects, the North Loop repairs, the expansion bank, the riverbank repairs for the expansion property and the current property along Riverbank. We have the baseball field, the multiple culverts, and the tennis courts. In the Parks and Recreation Department, we have the purchase of the new mower equipment, the additional trees that Nicole mentioned in the workshop, the $6,500 for the water line extension to the pollinator garden, and then the 2 major capital projects for the maintenance facility and the park expansion are there. And then the major general fund expenditure capital is the paving and the resurfacing of trails, as well as the parking lot of $360,000. The UDO is the balance of what the code right individuals believe will be outstanding as of the end of the year that will roll into this current fiscal year of 27. And then the information technology is that $60,000 that you requested us to add for the common term repairs on AVH.
Thank you so much, Julie. One thing that I did not mention in here, and I want to make sure that we talk about, there was a question around FEMA reimbursement early on within this process and how we budgeted FEMA reimbursement. We did look at the 100% FEMA reimbursement strategy because that was as council's request. I know that we've talked about it before, but this also does show back that 75%. And, it's a conservative approach. We hope that we're right, that we're going to get back 100%. We just don't want people to bet our balancing our budget on a major unknown as of right now. Julie, would you like to talk us through the fund balance?
Sure. So currently on your fund balance, because of the way that you have been conservative with setting the money aside for capital reserve purposes, your current fund balance is at $10.5 million. If everything that is in this proposed budget is completed in fiscal year 27, it will drop your fund balance available for expenditure to 98%. So we'll still be in your range that you have directed staff to make sure that your available fund balance exceeds the 65 to 75% of your operating budget. But that also allows your priorities to be accomplished as well, and only reducing that by 20%.
Just wanted to confirm, is the screen down there still working? Okay, when I heard that it was disconnected, I just wanted to make sure.
The clock.
Oh, it was the clock that disconnected.
That doesn't mean you can ignore the clock.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes,
got a
sir.
battery powered clock.
Yes. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Some people may be wondering about the, we hear from year to year that, why do we have a fund balance as high as it is? And that's really helping to showcase what that looks like as well. So again, over the 5 years, these are the same elements about key financial ratios that we've talked about. It incorporates the CIP. There's a reflection of that. And then talks about what we think about when it comes to new hiring, with positions. It is a full projection of operating and capital and what the needs are going to be over the next 5 years so we can plan accordingly. Those are some of the key financial assumptions as well. And we're going to adjust as every year goes on. You're only locked in for the FY27 budget, but this is trying to showcase for the community and for you all the comfort of where you think we're going to be going by 2031, which is wild to say out loud, 2031. Everything from before is still included in here when it comes to our major capital projects. Around timing, we've already talked a lot about the park expansion in the North Loop repair, as well as the repair of the park expansion riverbank and tennis court replacement, all in the 27-28 timeline. Mills River Valley Trail pre-engineering is still scheduled in this 5-year financial forecast for 28. Maintenance facility, as I know we've talked about a lot, completion in 29, and then ultimately town hall expansion in FY30 for completion. And the same assumptions about what's not included here, service area increases as well as future governmental activities on available property. But again, that is something that future councils will also consider. Again, just as a very high level here, a couple of things that we'd like to make sure is we're trying to our best to make sure that our operating expenditures don't exceed our operating revenues. There is our split that happens going into FY31 where expenditures exceed revenues by just a little bit. Again, this is based off of the latest projections. We think that that's going to tighten up, so I'm not really too concerned about that sitting here today. I think that we'll be able to easily find adjustments over the years when we get closer and closer to actuals on that one. You can see total budgeted expenditures for FY27 is 12.1 billion, but you can see where the major projects are going to be affecting us when it comes to capital projects, those expenditures, and then what the operating increase may be. So we're looking at FY29 adding 1 FTE, FY30 adding 1 FTE as well. And as you can also see, we're projecting in order to keep this balance, FY28 at 18 cents, an increase of 1 cent from this current year, and then a ½ cent in FY30, and then another ½ cent in FY31. Trying our best to make sure that that's associated with the increased operating costs that are associated with the new items that are coming on board. Because capital is one time, operating, we got to keep those buildings going. We have to keep that grass maintained. We're associating those increases with that. This is not bake in any revaluation numbers. This is on current numbers today, but it helps the community and hopefully helps everyone viewing it see where we're trying to go and what the potential may look like in order to meet those priorities and expectations. Billy, is there anything else from your perspective?
Not on this slide, it'll be on the next.
Are there any questions from council on this? I know this is new this year, so I really want to make sure you all are comfortable with what will be in the SOP this year.
I had a question going back to the strategic operating plan. You said the adjustment that y'all are going to do a council pay study.
Yeah.
Is that completed yet?
So right now, what we showed at the council workshop was a comparison of local communities in the area and what they had elected. And so we received direction at the workshop of what those increases would look like. So that based on the averages, that was the direction that we received from council. So that is what's baked into this cost right now. There's no additional expectation unless council wishes to do further analysis and further study on, council salaries. But I do expect moving forward that we would have a council salary study that's also similar to what we do with our employee salary study. So every few years, it would be reflected.
So if we pass this as is, then is there gonna be a council raise put in there?
Yeah, so as of right now, this FY 27 budget projects having council raises effective January 1. And that was the direction that council guy gave us last week at the budget workshop, is now.
By consensus, I think it was 4-1. For you,
Right. Okay, well, I thought they were gonna do another study and bring back other numbers. I didn't realize that that was it, but I'm still not for it.
And ultimately, that is set in there. There needs to be further discussion going up into the fall about whether or not that's something that you all want to.
council would ultimately have to pass it by motion at some point. I mean, just because it's in its budget, it's a line item, it's a placeholder for that money. But until the council actually acts on it to make it legal and happen, then it's not necessarily happening. It's just got a placeholder in case it does happen. These are projected to happen.
Right.
Good one now?
For the mayor and vice mayor, right? Not all.
There was a slight increase for all
Yeah,
three.
per officer.
It's relatively minor for that, yeah. So the other thing to think about here, is by passing this, I'm gonna look at Brian, to make sure I don't misspeak here. If you all move forward with passing this budget with the numbers as they are, that's under the direction that come January 5th, it's a half a year, or January 1st, it's a half a year moving forward. You all have the ultimate decision around salary line items. So you all can make a decision to say you wish to postpone that enactment. But hearing nothing else, it would go in
I
January.
see what you're saying. Yeah, we would have to put the vote.
Yeah.
But you could actually take it back out.
Mhm.
Well,
But it's not gonna be enacted until we vote specifically to enact.
no, it'll go
It's
into effect,
enacted with
right?
the budget or not.
It,
Yeah, I kinda got lost in that.
Yeah, so the direction is the budget, if passing the budget currently and it's in the salary line item. You all are giving the direction that come January 1, those raises would go into effect. At any point, you all, as those in charge of salary, can,
The same that we did with, employees, 2.69 in, merit, whatever it is. It's just automatic.
yeah,
In that discussion, I kinda got lost. Okay.
I got us messed up
No,
because past councils would have made it mandatory that we do that it would have happened in mid-year instead of at budget time.
you all can guide staff and us to bring this forward at any point for further discussion in the fall. You have just two options, right? You can either budget for it and show it transparently as a part of the budget and then remove it if you don't wish for it to be enacted. Or you didn't budget for it and then you had to vote on it to enact it come January 1. And at least the direction we got was build it into the budget and then it could be removed by council.
Now, that night, that evening, it was 4-1 for a minute ban. Consensus was.
I just have a little heartburn with it going up like that. You know, if we had, and it's nothing against you, Shannon, but if we had an elected mayor, it would be different than an appointed mayor. You know, I don't think,
It's almost one of the five is four standing on. So it's worse. If I went out and actually beat the street, but besides that for a mayor, I'm kind of really asking for it.
yeah, but you're really gonna commit yourself too, and you know what you're getting into.
You're still the mayor of this town. Tell you, get half-ass paying, and you're gonna get a part-time mayor. Or you can pay him what he's worth, and he might, or she might, go to some of these things and actually get your word out. Just being honest.
Well,
I mean-
we could delegate some of that stuff to where everything's covered.
But a lot of it is mandatory by the state that the mayor has to be present and has to respectfully represents the town. The mayor badge carries a lot more than.
Absolutely it does. It does.
You know, I mean, if you took hours that I lose from work, be it talking to you, talking to any other council member during the workday, going to these meetings and everything, what, $10,000 a joke? And we ain't talking about $10,000. You know, from what I do for a living, if I can't make $100 an hour, I need to be doing something else. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an Indian chief, but I'm a home builder. But this day and time, you know, my time is what I'm actually selling. My time and my experience, be it here or be it on the job site. That's one reason I'm not, I elected not to run again. It's costing me money to sit in this chair.
Mhm.
And you're going to, and I told the previous council that had the same attitude as you, all the old timers. If you get them in here and you don't pay these positions, you've got volunteers. And with volunteers, as you see, they're easy to jump ship. They don't have as much a hold of. So when you pay a man and you expect him to turn out something, if you're not paying him, you can't really hard pay him if he ain't doing his job. He ain't making nothing. Got nothing to push him. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's not one meeting, think about this for a second. There's not one mayor meeting that I don't go to that the one at the city of Asheville goes to. And I'm at all of them, the same ones. It don't matter if it's Black Mountain, Woodton, it don't matter. We're all there. We're all represented. And we've got the same amount of power in a vote in most of these situations. And if they're not there, if you're not there, you're not getting represented. Fair statement. You sit on some of them that's close to the same amount of pull. But I have to sit on everyone that has the power to vote. And that's what to represent all of us, the 5 of us, and the town. To say this is not a paid position, I mean, honestly, I lose a lot of respect just thinking that this is just, it don't deserve the money. We're not getting enough, period. But I understand it. We elect to do this. I'm electing not to do this because of that. But you're having some trouble now getting these committees and these board seats filled. And a lot of it has to do with the same thing. A lot of towns have to pay those people to sit in those positions to keep them people.
Or they have to ask people from the county to come in.
Yeah,
Like
outsiders.
Hendersonville.
I just rather see people do this that has it in their heart and wants to do it and
Not doing it looking for the money
No,
or the fame or the
That's
glory.
not enough money.
it's not for, I'm not doing
Yeah,
this for the money. I'm just trying to offset my time at work and stuff. This is the only meetings we go to at night, unless I go to some of these other shindigs that get together, like, economic development, stuff like that. They have a lot of stuff after hours that really we could use somebody there representing to network, to maybe possibly get something in our town that might not, if I'm not there to get the recognition of it. You'd know a whole lot more about a lot of stuff going on. You wouldn't miss out. But I can't do the daytime and
that's when the vice mayor can step in and go too. I mean, it can be between the two of you.
well,
If the rest of us can't be included in the rotation.
I mean, all you gotta do is figure out how to get on the mailing list, I guess. Make sure the one who don't show up on the next day. But there's about 13 hours a month that you gotta go to for the committee meetings, and that's interlocal, if you look at it that way. Take one at Leicester, it's over a half of that. And they meet at 1. So you really can't commit much of the morning because what I do, I've got to go home and clean up again to go to that one. And then you spend three hours over there and then you drive back to Asheville that time of day. Might get home at 4:30, might get home at 5:30.
I know when I was on the Land of the Sky Committee, it took me half a day. By the time I left work and got there, had the meeting and then got home. So I understand you're.
And that's one of about 6 that I've got to attend. But that's all I got to say about it. I mean, I'll stand my ground on it. If it's a volunteer position, you're going to get volunteer service, not professional. It'll be volunteer service, regardless of who it is. because I don't, that dig down in your heart to represent a town, I mean, it sounds good in theory, but it's costing money to do it. It's not fair to that individual. He's got a retirement to look after, he's got family to feed, all this. You know, and you think when I was out 3 months, nobody never thought about that. I was basically out 3 months with my arm. I got no income. This little bit from here. Think about that a minute. I'm self-employed. I had to get ready for that. I couldn't go get when I needed emergency surgery, I had to put that off 40 days because I had to get a house in a certain state where I could get a draw to make it where I could afford my doctor bills, what my insurance didn't pay, and to know I had enough money to make it 90 days. See what I'm saying? So I would never cheat nobody out of their time.
Just for, do you have something you need to say?
Oh, no, no. you're
Oh,
good.
just for
Yeah.
transparency of, to town citizens. This is not, I mean, yes, it is a pay increase, but we are not going above the average of what other communities are set. So this is not anything absorbent. This is fair pay for the job that's at hand.
Yeah,
And I will say this, the first time I was on council, I didn't take at all. And so my paycheck went back to the town. And I will tell you that I got criticized more by citizens for doing that than I did.
could y'all tell what those numbers are?
Eh.
Give us the numbers, please, because that's,
Increase
Mhm.
$3,000.
and that's for all the board. And that's for 6 months. So per year for the mayor, it would be something, for the vice mayor, it'd be something, then each council member. Y'all have that handy?
It was
Mhm.
about $400 for a council member and about a $600 increase for the mayor pro tem.
Okay.
And then I want to say the mayor was 2,500 or something like that. Total, that would be the total increase,
So the mayor's going from 6,500 to 9,000.
but only, in this year, it would only be
In this case, we just,
1,500.
yeah.
And I'd like to say, what I'm sitting here fighting for, I'll never see an extra dollar up. I'll be gone. Just so everybody knows, boom, I'm just sitting here just telling you,
Mhm.
it's a professional job that deserves some decent pay.
And honestly, that amount with your time and driving and cost of inflation to buying a Snickers bar, that's probably how you broke them. It's not like you're making any money. There's not one at home.
I'd trade it any day for the benefit. Any day for some benefits.
Absolutely.
And
Oh.
that's what we were chatting about before. We were just trying to see if we had the documentation in front of us for the individual costs. So we can get that for you all, but again, approximately
We've
$6,000
got
a year.
the general idea. We're not tripling our salaries, or
Yeah.
we're not setting us up with a cushy deal where I can now afford a new boat or anything.
And the other thing to remember about this, again, if helpful, is this would be effective January 1. We know that there's an election coming this year, so this would not be effective July 1. It would be a new council at that time. That would be essentially in place for about a month before any increases would be as well. So I think it's helpful for the community to know that you all are not, the council is not directing an increase on this council. It would be actually only effective on. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Ultimately, here, again, some minor changes when you look at percentages, and the positive for us is that we really want to make sure we keep the unrestricted percentage of total operating budget between the 65 and 75%. So one of the other reasons why, when we're looking at potential future tax increases, is to make sure we don't put ourselves in a position where we're not financially healthy. And so right now we're projecting, based off of all the growth that we've been talking about, based off of the large capital projects, the operating costs, et cetera, that if this is enacted as it is today, would be about 72.3% of the unrestricted percentage available. So again, a very good, healthy percentage, but also showing the community that we're we're working to meet their expectations on paying down the fund balance towards things that you all have provided guidance on. Again, I can't stress enough, though, the next FY 28 to FY 31, this is a projection. It is going to be a projection that is printed on, for July 1 if this is passed. July 1, the projections are going to be different a little bit because things always change. This is just a roadmap to help you all in the community with position.
One question on this one.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you got it or Julie. When it comes to borrowing money, and we're talking about possibly borrowing money at some point in time to do the most building, that unrestricted fund balance percentage that you got affects your ability to borrow a little number.
Actually, the way the local government commission, calculates what you can borrow is based on your property valuation. And so, as of the, June 30, 2026, audited financial statements that you have, you could actually, even do a bond referendum up to $188 million based on that property value.
Is USDA money the same way?
It is not. It's
Okay.
slightly different.
But this affect it more or maybe not?
Maybe not. It just depends. We have a meeting with the LGC, next Wednesday
Okay.
because we have to actually meet with them prior to, finalizing anything for the maintenance facility because you have to get their approval beforehand. So if we do have to do that, we'll have some more information after Wednesday.
Okay, fair enough. I just remember something when we got ready to build this building, we had to move it forward into the next fiscal year to let our fund balance adjust some to get either a better rate or give.
Generally, it's to get a lower interest rate.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
with USDA.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Council? Ultimately, that concludes the proposed budget for FY 2027. The next item on the list, as I mentioned, is June 16th, where the public hearing is scheduled and the potential for budget adoption. Again, if there are more questions, when the community comes out and there are more things that we need to respond to, then we have June 25th. That's backup date. Then I'll be requesting more backup dates if June 25th doesn't work. But ultimately, at the end, we really do welcome all public comment. Please email them into info@millsriver.gov. We do read them. We want to hear from the community. We want to provide those to council so that you all make the best decision that you can on behalf of the community. But I will say, just as an aside, at the last slide, I can't thank you all enough for your guidance, and I can't thank staff enough. And I really just want to call out Julie sitting beside me for all of the hard work she has done over the last few months. Really just having to work with me and making sure that she keeps me in line. So I really just can't thank her and everyone enough for their hard work. So thank you.
I'd just like to say, I've been through 16 or 17 of these. This is the most backbone that any Mills River budget's ever had behind it. As far as what you're doing now, where you're projecting to get to, and how you're going to do it financially, physically, with what you got coming. Well prepared. I think anybody outside of any Mills River community could look through it and understand it reasonably without having very few questions. But I think it was a great job. Very good.
Thank you.
Yep. Staff did a great job on it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And for the folks that are out there looking at the future years and seeing a possible tax increase, just know that that's a very conservative estimate. And that's worst case. That's so that we're paying our bills out of our income, not having to go to our bank account to do it. So it's sound financial management.
The goal is no surprises.
No surprise. That's right. Any other business? Hearing none? How about motion to adjourn our regular meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
Second.
Brian and James, any discussion on adjourning? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a
Favor?
motion to enter our business meeting.
Gotcha.
I'll second.
Second, hang on.
Was that a motion to enter a
Motion.
very quick
Wait,
business meeting?
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right.
And so, Mayor and Council, there's only one item on the business, meeting, and then we have one additional item that was added. The one item that you all have requested from me that I thought would be helpful is actually the list of those future agenda items are on the next week, so that we can kind of have further discussion. If there's more work you all need from us, we can get it to you in a timely manner. And so, the future preliminary agenda item is really on June 11th. We all know about it. It is the public hearing on the adoption of the UDO. That is going to be presented by, Mike Malinchak on that day as well. And so I just would take a moment here. This is for you all to help us. Is there anything else you guys would like to discuss around this item before moving forward? Are there any other items that meeting that you would like to discuss?
Are you planning items that meeting like, because I think there might be a lot of people.
In
Okay.
fact, I mean, right now, this is the only item on that agenda.
Okay.
There will be.
Yeah, consent stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we're reading through now is is it. We shouldn't expect any changes between now and June 11th or.
So any changes that council wishes to make, I mean, right now, you all can direct us to, to push forward any other type of changes. The draft document itself won't have any of those changes, but what we call an errata sheet will be basically laid on top of that with those changes. So, yeah, so basically, so if you all move to approve, if it is approved, it would be approving the draft, it would be approving the UDO with the errata sheet with those changes.
And this may be a question for Brian. If we get into that thing on June 11th, we make several changes, let's say. Is there a rule on percentage or what it is or whatever change might be that we would have to bring it back and give it another?
The only reason you'd have to bring it back is if you all didn't pass it by the necessary votes on the first adoption of the order.
That's the only reason. If we make changes that night throughout it, tweak on it, mess with it, if we did, there's no 5% rule, nothing. We just change it. And if people get up and comment, I got that.
Matt called it an errata sheet, and that's what it is. I mean, you can strike through 5.321,
Okay.
of what, whatever,
Yeah.
some vehicles. I think that was the nuisance thing. But anyways, you can strike through it and, create a new definition for it, keep it on the errata sheet. And so that would then be attached. There'd be an adoption of an ordinance with that attached with, the proposed ordinance and then any errata sheets that go along with it.
Okay. So in saying that, I guess anybody that's in the community that might be afraid of some change happening that night probably needs to attend. Because I know certain things, if we make too much change to it, we got to put it back out there and give the community a chance to look the new ideas over and then bring it back to another public hearing.
I mean, that's gonna be all entirely up to you all. If someone says that they want a specific change and you all decide to change it that way
That night, and it's voted upon
with those changes, it becomes part of the UDO.
Fair enough. Just need to know. Okay.
You wanna know, like a list, around a list early or just, try?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of surprises, especially around something as consequential as this item.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah, yeah, so right now, what I would request is that you can send questions we can talk about it right now. All right, if there's general consensus from council on a specific thing that you all would like to see change, we'll write it down, we'll pass it up to, Chad, and Chad will, and then again, if there's consensus there, then we'll make sure that that's reflected on there, on that sheet. Ultimately, you all get to choose whether or not you want to keep it and approve it, right? And so,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Here we go again, Shannon. We almost hate to bring stuff up tonight because it's gonna blow our phone up tomorrow. And you know what I'm saying? I've got a handful of stuff I'm sure everybody.
And I'm a little concerned too, because, to no surprise, I can't poetically speak, so, it's all written very nicely, so how does that work? It's like,
I mean, I think if
We
you've
worked
got,
through it.
if you've got a provision of the ordinance that you don't like, I mean, spitballing it here tonight's not gonna work. To say, I really don't like the way this reads, I'd like to propose that. Literally, we'd be here till 4 o'clock in the morning talking about how best to do it. If you've got something that you have a concern about that would relate to the number of stories, the architectural style of commercial buildings, I think you give that to staff. They can run it up the flagpole with Chad. Chad will call us and say, what do you think about this? But the proposal, if you don't do that and allow staff and Chad to kind of create or adjust the document, what comes before town council on June 11th may then get modified. You all may be spitballing it. You might not like what's said. It might come to no consensus on that night. I mean, so I think if you can give staff a little bit of time to work with what your concerns are, the sooner the better, as opposed to throwing it out on June 11th and then having everybody comment and maybe not. I mean, the ordinance that we did the last time on the nuisance and as it related to cars and were they going to be covered, it took 2 or 3 iterations of getting it through before everyone came up with something that might have been acceptable.
One problem we have with that though, Brian, is like, I know I've addressed my concerns with the manager, at our one-on-one meeting. But without him knowing consensus, he can't really make any big moves in it. And we can only 1, 2 at a time. And so, it's on.
I mean, that's what the vote's for. That's what the June 11th meeting is gonna be for, and it's gonna take a long time. There's gonna be a lot of people. And the concerns that you have, the majority of the people that show up may have a different concern. And so council may hear it from community members that they don't like to define residential structures this way, or, I don't know.
You just.
Yeah, outdoor shooting ranges.
Or what, they might, you just don't know.
So I sent a list over to Mike. The things that I have expressed to me. And he went through and explained like some basis behind it and the reason why it is. So, I mean, that relieved, I would say probably out of 20 items, probably half of them, it probably relieved what it talked about. And some of it was state stuff, and then the other stuff, he was like, hey, I could see where this could change, so can you bring it up on the 11th, then so I mean, he gave some direction. So, like, and he pointed out some options.
And that's what I would ask too. I mean, if there's something that's very clear, as Brian said, that you all said, this needs to do this from this to this, and that needs to be a discussion, and then council, you all can come to some type of consensus. That's helpful. If it's, and that would be helpful in the open, right? If it's more, you have concerns, or you're hearing concerns, or you'd like more details, or options, or those kinds of things, I would recommend you can send them to staff, you can send them up to Chad, and that gives us time to then provide those options for you, and then we can share those options. I mean, we can talk through what that is. For the June 11th conversation, but then that way at least we're not spitballing can get really dangerous. So giving us the opportunity to help answer questions where we can, it's going to be really helpful. And it'll help me because, again, to the mayor's point, if I hear I'm not really happy, I need to think more about this, or I think we may need to do this, it's more difficult for us to actualize than it is. Hey, Chad, I'm really kind of concerned about this. What are some potential options? Alleviate my concerns. That kind of conversation that can help us get ready for June 11th.
And I think if you were asking this, Mayor, previously, I think if you're going to make a change and you want it to read A, B, and C, I think that the whole council would need to motion on that and change it to see that everyone wants it A, B, or C.
Sure.
And that would be, and then right now, on June 11th, I can imagine, again, it depends on what we hear from you all, but I can absolutely imagine, there being a list, if we receive that from you all, and say, hey, we already have some potential language option, if that's still a concern, to make those types of changes at that time. So again, we're not trying to wordsmith in real time, we're trying to,
Just have something to draw from and pull it in.
yeah, the more we can do that, I think the cleaner the process.
Well, I fully expect ample amount of items for the long term. You know what I'm saying? But we still got to vote. So,
Yeah, and I think because of that local bill, like July 1st is the day. June 11th, if it doesn't pass by its 3/5 majority, or I'd have to look at what the statute says, then it has to come back again, because you can't vote on it twice in the same day that it's first read. So plenty of time, but like you're saying, I mean,
you're not going to get everything you want.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I mean, it's not gonna be perfect, but we'll make it as good as we can.
And that's why you can always come back with a text amendment thereafter to make it better.
Okay, so do you
Envision it like, we're gonna vote on Brian's list, then my list. And go down and then vote on it as a whole, or I could see this going all night.
Mayor, I could envision if we see we just go right down through the public hearing, then we present it. We'll go down, we'll ask for comments, we'll go out, we'll close the public hearing, we'll go into discussion amongst ourselves. And then we'll see if we're okay. If it might move on as it is. But then at that point, we might start saying, well, we need to make some changes.
And it doesn't have to be, I'd make a motion to adopt UDO with this change. I can say, I'd make a motion to change from 3-foot trees to 4-foot trees. And then we vote on that. And then
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? And then
that would, I mean, if that's what you're saying, 3-foot trees, 4-foot trees, you vote on that. And that would be an errata that's attached to the UDO, and ultimately the last vote of the night is going to be to approve the UDO with the errata sheet.
Yes.
Everybody remember the errata sheet.
Is there a way to share some of the concerns?
I'd love. I could forward you my list.
The mayor list,
Or would it be better if it came from you?
or Matt did it.
I'm more than happy to distribute.
The list that I send you, may distribute to.
I'm happy to, yes.
all right, then I'll send you my list and you can.
Because if you all are communicating
Yeah.
by more than 2 of them, it's a public meeting, and so who are you sending it to? The best thing to send it to.
I'm happy to do that. Another thought, to consider is that under Councilmember Pingle's example there, Mike is able to respond, right, to those questions and provide guidance. So you all could respond, send us your questions, concerns, issues. Can we run that up to the change chat, it would go to Brian, et cetera, and then we can provide that back to you all. And then with that information, you can tell me, okay, Mike, I'm no longer concerned about these 3, but I still want to talk about this one. And then you can tell me which ones you want me to share. And I'm happy to do that. But I think the first phase, you don't have to do it, but I think it would be helpful to say, that we can help you with some guidance on what those options may be. And then you can say, hey, I'm really concerned about this. They say it can't be done unless it's X, Y, and Z reason. That's my concern. You know what I'm saying? We need to talk about it, but it's a little bit more in depth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So.
Because of the timing on this, I would say that normally it would be we try to culminate all of this into a nice little package and then send it all to you all. But I think the best method for this to be is that whatever option you choose, if you so choose to do any of them, I would recommend starting to give those questions in to staff if you want to go that route, or send them to me and just say, Matt, send these out whenever that's ready, and I will send them out the same day, if at all possible, to everyone to say, these are some questions that I have received. Right, and then just pass those along.
Right.
No meeting. Yeah.
We'll see on this, okay? Yep. Move on to, standard discussion item about the, rave system. Anything else Sandra, you just want to lead us off in your thought process?
I can, I was wanting to, after the last rain we had and the flooding that we had, the road deterioration, and with the new rave system being in, we never got any notifications. And when I called Matt, he said that Henderson County sent notifications out to the people that they thought were affected, and it pinged off the cell towers, I believe you said, as to out there as to who it went out to.
No, ma'am, I apologize. So I apologize for any miscommunication there.
May come from me.
Okay.
Just, that was,
Well, I thought
Oh.
he said it too.
okay.
So, Henderson County, I believe, sent out, a generic, alert, and I'm trying to remember whether or not it was via email or via text about
The first one might have went out both.
yes,
At
so,
8:15.
okay, so yeah, so I do know there was one later on in the day, so I do
37. The
Okay.
second one out, it was text on.
segment that.
The box that the National Weather Service declares as the severe weather section. Any, this is what Jimmy Brishy told me, any, whichever cell phone that your phone is pinging off of at that time, you'll get the notification if you're inside of that box, be it at home, be it in your vehicle. So you know, if you're in that National Weather Service box and then Ray will send it through that phone if it's pinging off of one of those towers. If you're outside of that, but you're home, you may be visiting a neighbor that's just over a slope and it don't ping the same one,
Then you're not going to.
you're not going to get.
So understood. Am I right to understand, which makes sense because I received one, but not a second one, and it may be because of my location based off the National Weather Service and where I was pinging it may have come from.
And yeah, but the email ones I understand can go out via cellular or hardwire, however that works. So I think maybe that's why that one went first. But keep in mind that I don't think always on. But you've got to be signed up inside of that for severe weather alerts. There's all kinds of different things you can go in there and click on or deny it bothered you. You can even have it cut off at a certain time or whatever. I'm not familiar with it. But he said, if you're not signed up and you're inside that box, you still won't get it. If you're not signed up for whichever one it is.
And I'm happy to go into more details about the rate system from our side, but I do not want to offend Councilmember.
We'll go ahead, Mayor. Me and you've discussed this multiple times.
Yes, so as Councilmember Booth mentioned, the rave alert system, which when I say we partner with Henderson County, it's because Henderson County has a contract associated with it, which provides us with an opportunity to work within their system, but we are a separate entity within the National Weather System alerts. If you go in and you opt into the system, so right now we have approximately 60 people that have opted in. That's outside of all of us. All right, where you all got in there whether you liked it or not when I was getting this started. But on that front page, when you go to sign up, you can choose to sign up from Henderson County and or Mills River, and there's an option there that says would you like to be notified essentially. So that's the way the opportunity is there. You can always change that later on. Essentially the National Weather Service alerts for severe weather, those are automated. Again, as the mayor mentioned, they are not controlled by us. They are controlled by when things get pushed out through the system to folks. There is another side of the alert system that's manual. And so prior to, back right before the ice storms, we were able to get the alert side up for people, which also allows for public domain. So we have I can't give you all the raw number. We have quite a few numbers that are public domain in case of true emergency type situations. And we made the choice at the time, or I made the choice at the time, to focus that on declared states of emergency. Rationale for that is one, because we don't, from a staff capacity purpose, it's hard to maintain that, anything under that, but also it was vitally important to me that we didn't overpromise and underdeliver on what the community was seeing. And so that's why for the other evening, during the storm, I received some general information at the time around potential flooding on certain roadways at that time, because I believe it was around 10:30 at that time. I'm looking at Chris because Chris is the one that provided me the information. It did not rise up to that policy decision of a declared state of emergency. So I informed council via via email. I informed staff via email, and then I also posted it on our social media channels following what Henderson County had put out in theirs. Since they're the emergency management side, I lean very heavily on them being the primary. The Rave Alert system worked as intended. It's really a policy decision from council on whether or not you all wish to see more manual type responses and what that expectation would look like. I know that there's been conversation, you and I, it's already mentioned about other type systems that are out there. Ultimately, the capabilities are the same. It's really on how we implement what those services are. And we can also use RAVE for non-emergency purposes. So I haven't pushed it out yet, but we do have access now. We've gone through all the necessary steps to get non-emergency options. And so one of the things with the community relations specialist and that type of position is also ramping up for people who opt in, updates on when we have River Park event and those types of things. That just didn't, again, we're trying to roll it out without over-promising and under-delivering for the community. So that's ultimately why there were no alert Mills River texts that went out on Tuesday night. And that was because that would be manually me doing so, and it didn't rise to what that level of a declarative. So that's ultimately what I have to.
My problem would be with us having our standalone one would be the liability aspect of it. As you know, when the campers got swept away in Texas, there's a big potential lawsuit with that county municipality over the loss of life, but them not getting notified quick enough. And I don't think if they didn't have anything like this in place, I don't know that you could have any, I don't know. But I've heard about it. I see it on the nightly news. I know it's in the making. I understand that's providing services, but as I told Sandra, I don't know if I told you, we've got a manager that pushes this information out to us. But if we get this in place, we can't draw it back. And if we don't have somebody that's dedicated to get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, at heaven bid we was to have a tornado coming through here, we didn't get it out. We sitting in a position to get possibly sued because we provided this service, but then it didn't get out. One time it fails. That's what scares me sitting in this seat. Because I know that county don't have enough money to pay all that loss of life out. And they're looking at going bankrupt down there and having to fold up, get federal help.
And if I may, that was also one of the rationales for the declarative emergency. So if that is in place, what that does, essentially, my role shifts, right? And so it's myself, and we do have an apparatus in place about how we are going to communicate during the declared states of emergency, because ultimately Henderson County may be reporting something, but we have specific needs under those types of circumstances, whether hurricanes, ice storms, any of those like large scale type impacts that we think we can help to control with messaging that the community may need. When it comes to tornado, flash flooding, those types of things, I would find it incredibly difficult for us to have any type of role within that, because we don't have the information as quickly as our partners do, which is why in my opinion, this is a tertiary, right? It's secondary, tertiary opportunity. Our website clearly states that we want people to sign up for Henderson County because their emergency management, they
Their
have,
staff.
they are staffed, they get that information quickly and they will push it out. Mills River Fire and Rescue, the sheriff's office, all their information's on there as their public safety partners because we want them to rely on when things happen quickly to get that information. Yet, for instance, with Hurricane Helene, this would have been very helpful because we could have given updates on when we were going to be opening up the resource hub, what type of opportunities that we have there, where we may be hearing about other, sources and other things that would be helpful for them because it's a longer scale type state of emergency. And that's something I think that we can promise the community. Because I may be sending a message at 3 o'clock at night, but at 3 o'clock at night during a state of emergency, there's been conversation and things are happening. Right?
Yeah.
What I was thinking was that if we're already signed up through Henderson County and Henderson County's doing it anyway, then whether we send out anything or not, they're gonna do it. So I just wasn't sure if we wanted to double pay into the same system when we could look at another one that would push out what we need when they're gonna cover us on that one already.
Respectfully, Councilmember Good, it does not cover. It does not double cover us. Henderson County, when they're pushing out information, they're pushing out on behalf of the county as a whole.
Right.
And so we push out information around Mills River specific. So for instance, under the ice storm situation, we declared a state of emergency just as the county did. The county was sending out alerts about their county closures, park closures, inclement weather items, et cetera, that have no bearing on what we do here within the town of Mills River. I utilized the Rave Alert system during that time to inform the town of Mills River residents of town hall closures, expectations of the park, or any major issues that we were seeing around town, specifically here. The county will not do that on our behalf because the county is focused on the county level. That's why this is a complimentary service for that. And this service, Blackboard or any other, would only still serve as complimentary to it because it's not what's being pushed out, it's who is pushing it out and the expectations that you all as council have on staff to push it out. Because it's still all manual at the end of the day. And if you all tell me that you expect me to push out, flash flood alerts, then that's what we're going to set up a system to make that happen. And it's going to be specific for Mills River moving forward, whether it's a Brave Alert or any other.
And no disrespect to you, Matt, but I did see that on our social media where it went out too. And I got the emails that you sent the council, but I didn't think that I got it through Ray, but thank you.
Well, you did not get any message from us through Ray.
Right.
And by design, either Rave or Blackboard or anything else under the current system, you would not have received it. It's you all have to tell us your expectations of using the service, and we can then put that into practice. But it's not a failure on Rave of the system. It would be a shift in expectation, and maybe it may have been a failure on me meeting council's expectations of what needs to go out through Rave. And I think that would be helpful for me to know. But, again, switching a service, you all can make that determination. You all control multiple contracts. But putting in another service, it's the same.
Well, so like Jimmy said, though, one reason that you warn the affected areas more so than the outside areas is that might give people inside there know where to move to. If I just don't go north on 191, go south, get out of this, they'll open it up. But if you've got everybody warned, everybody's trying to move, could potentially be trying to move at the same time. Most of these severe storms are moving or tracking, and maybe not taking the whole county. They're just a trail of them. And everybody may not be affected. That gives people in that affected area a place to know, look at your radar, go there. But if everybody's getting the same alert, and everybody's trying to move, you're trying to get more people on the road. And he said it happens more out west where the tornadoes and stuff are so bad. But he said, and it's brand new too. He said, so it's only a learning curve for them and how some, they could use some tweaking.
Mass panic is not what we need, no. But the residents do need to be aware when water's up over the roads are closing out. You know, if they have livestock or equipment in low-lying areas, you know, they need to at least stand a chance to get out. If we would have had something like this up and running before Helene, I wouldn't have been sitting at home on the phone from 2:30 to 4 trying to call people. You know, we need some way to notify people that's gonna happen.
And I think a lot of this, saying as though as bad as I hate to say it, reverts back to just good old common sense. Because like I told you the other day, you know, our ancestors before us didn't even have telephones. They look outside and made educated decisions on what they need to do with that livestock and get it up out of there. And a lot of the people are becoming very dependent on us as being their guardians. And I get it, they're paying us a little bit of tax money to do so. But you're taking on a lot, in my opinion, you got the man sitting right there who can tell you, and he may not like the answer, but in my Shannon Gunson's opinion, you're putting a lot of liability on the manager to get that notification out, and a lot of responsibility on us because we hired that person.
Well, but Henderson County's already doing it.
Well, I'm not, who,
Henderson County,
I'm not Henderson County.
if we're going through Henderson
I
County.
would have told them the same thing if I'd been sitting on their board of commissioners.
Well, and I think the difference is we don't have an emergency management department.
Right.
And we contract, right. The county did send out alerts. They did send out alerts. So they did their job.
Everybody.
The application did its job. People have to be subscribed to get the information. And multiple applications or different applications don't work because people will not download multiple apps to get the same information.
I'm not.
Right. So
I got more apps than I need.
being on the same application as what the county use is ideal. As far as the information that we push out, I don't think that we should push out anything that's not a state of emergency to what, unless it rises to that level. Because, you know, I look at what happened Sunday night and probably if nobody would have got any alerts, it'd have been better because as soon as you alert people, you got half the people who want to go out there and look at it. So it was Sunday night, it was late, people were in bed. That was probably the best place they could have been. So, you know, we didn't rise to the level. What happened on flooding Sunday night was, I mean, how many times a year does that happen? I mean, everybody has a little PTSD trigger from Helene, but what we had this past Sunday was normal afternoon thunder showers. So
Yeah.
it's just that, you know, it rose to that level. So, you know, everybody panicked and all the roads are shut down. We've seen pictures from Bat Cave, and I will tell you that probably half the pictures that have been on social media are from Helene. They're not from. So, and people do that for clicks. So you can't rely on social media to give you the real story. So you got to use a little common sense. And I think the county did what they're supposed to. The app did what they're supposed to. I don't want to put Matt or staff in a position. Now, if we want to hire a PIO officer or a community relations specialist, as Matt called them, who handles these types of notifications, then I think that's fair. But I don't think it's fair with staff. They're already here at 9 o'clock. We expect them to be at work. So,
Well, they're not gonna override Henderson County Emergency Management
Correct.
System at all.
but somebody still has to be awake to manage it still. So I just don't want to get in that situation.
There is the DOT, and this is what I've got on my phone here. On the 27th, went live with their new TIMS and drivinc.gov. TIMS is Traffic Incident Management. And what you can do is you can sign up through this. You can put the route that you drive to work. It's different than a route. A route's when UNC comes to Death Valley. But a route, you put in the way you drive to work, and if there's any closures or anything like that, you get notified. And you can also choose an area. And so I want to choose the Mills River area. You know, I'll put that in there. If there's any, I'll get the alert from DOT because they're the ones closing the roads, and they get that word out immediately. So that's something for everyone to be aware of.
Brand new.
That is brand new, and that's that's the DOT getting it.
Well,
Yeah, and so we could maybe push that out on our social media and all that. And I think Rave has something that has road closures on it, or you can sign
I
up
think,
for it.
well, another thing too, rave is, I'm 99% sure rave is the state DIT standard. So they're trying to implement that across the state for all counties, cities. They're trying to get them on platform.
We are, yeah, one of the reasons why rave was so important, was really in many ways, the industry standard for this type of, service and type of delivery, both emergency and non-emergency. We did, it's $3,500 a year, as a part of our contract with them. I will absolutely, we will put the DOT's information on our emergency information page, and it's a good reminder for anybody watching that the emergency information website is still up. It lists our app, but again, we're very clear within that listing of that, if you download this, make sure you are also registering for Henderson County, that they are the ones that have the, real-time, quick, type of, emergency management type work, and that ours is secondary, tertiary to our public safety. But I will say, from my position, and I want to reiterate, I really do understand, and I appreciate you bringing this up, Councilman Woodruff, because I think it is important for the community to know what they should expect from these types of services. And if the community wishes for more, I think that it's our job to meet your expectations. All right, I'll put together policies that are necessary to make what you all ask me to do happen. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that contract, I believe, has already served itself so far, just through the 2 state of emergencies that we've had so far with the ice storms. And so, setting that up for having people be able to receive that information, like I said, the public domain list, there are very strict requirements on when I can and cannot use those types of systems or those types of alerts from federal guidance. So I want to make sure that whatever we do push out, it's going to be heard, that people are going to recognize it, they're going to know that it's information pertinent to military specifically, and that it's playing complements to other systems and what they're hearing across the board. I mean, as an example, most of us have weather alerts on our phone right now because we have weather alerts. They work in a very similar way, where again, whether if you're within an area, your Google weather alert may come across or something like that. We're trying to cover that, but unless we get into emergency management, an emergency management role, thing that keeps me up at night is, I think it's already brought up, is that, a flooding event that happened on Sunday night, thank you, it's been a long week, came to us at 10:30, and I had very general information about where it was at. But so it would be difficult to push that out to a mass list, unless there was life safety involved. I did talk to Mills River Fire and Rescue. At least to my understanding, they did not push out anything about road closures. They pushed out National Weather Service type information. I don't know what the sheriff's office did regarding theirs, but I received my information press that night. It's trying to set expectations appropriately, and I would hate to one time send a message out and then not do it the next time without clear guidance, and then somebody comes to us and says, "I can't believe, you did it this time, but you didn't this time," and something happened. That's my biggest fear.
And I will say, people shouldn't rely on, it's technology at the end of the day. You're relying on a third party system of the internet and cell phone towers to get this message through. To your point, at some degree, it's common sense that has to play. If you hear the rain on the roof, it's raining.
You're your own protector when it comes right down to the nitty gritty. I mean, we went through a lane, we went to have cell service, none of that. Everybody played it, after the fact. So just gotta use that good old noggin to play on it.
But moving forward, I would just say, Mayor, in that example, we declared a state of emergency days before the hurricane hit, and that would have automatically allowed me the opportunity, under current understanding, to start pushing information specifically to Mills River. If we have shelters within the area, where are we going to do setup, what they can expect from the town. That allows for that time and that communication.
Before power goes out,
Exactly.
before the cell goes down, they got some information prior to it. It makes
Exactly.
perfect sense.
Well, to your point, we've got a big field of rocks out here. If everybody would come get a weather rock, it to save us time.
A lot of money, getting that ready to,
Yeah.
getting that ready
So
to go.
weather rocks, what we need.
Made it for years with the weather rock.
And didn't have to pay a weather bill to be one.
Councilmember Good, I just want to make sure that, is there anything that you or council wish to change expectation wise? Because right, like I said, ultimately the expectation was on me and I want to make sure I'm achieving it with you all.
Just can't be.
I think it's so new, it's gonna get changed some regardless, by the county, by the municipalities and so forth. But until we have certain events happen that would triggers these changes, and if this is one of them, Sandra, it's one of them, but I just don't see it being, after I got the explanation from Jimmy Chris. I mean, they're trained, he is basically the head of that organization, and he said, this is why the alerts don't go out to the unaffected areas. This is why they do go out to the affected areas. And it might even in some cases tell them which direction they might need to head in a tornado event. This thing is traveling northeast at da-da-da-da-da. If you're in this immediate line, you need to be trying to get south on route so-and-so, and that keeps that route open. He said, but it's all so new that they're all in the learning process.
Well, with the way the internet and stuff is around here, nothing's guaranteed it's gonna be waterproof. And if you rely on Facebook to get your information, they may or may not put it out a day or two later. So, I mean, I'm just looking at a way to notify the residents to the best of our ability of what we can. And, I mean, when radar shows a storm's coming and you know, if you're asleep at night or something, anything will help. I do know that if your rock's wet, it's raining, and if it's
It goes even deeper than that with me, Sandra. I'm gonna say it one more time. Along with that decision to inform all these people, you know, it's really easy from 9 to 5. They're here, it pops up, oh gosh, send it. But if he's in the bed and it happens at 4 o'clock in the morning, he's sound asleep, it don't wake him up. Or he might have it might have already been at his place. It
But-
might, and then he's
not putting it on him. He's not an emergency system for the county. The county is that they're gonna notify us anyway.
Mills River specific stuff had to come through him, specific.
So if he's not awake and it happens, we ain't gonna get notified.
You'll get,
No.
you'll
The
get,
county's gonna
if
know.
you're in the
county's gonna
affected
see it.
zone, but I think your problem is, like, if we'd have been in an affected zone and you was signed up for it, you would have got it the other night. I didn't get it. You know, you told me, I said, well, I didn't get it,
Well, I didn't know.
but we wasn't in the affected zone.
Well, we was affected at my house.
I did take a picture of that, but I don't think much of the count was, but I got it, I was in the, but, yeah, that blue dot is my house. We're barely in Mills River, it's going out. But maybe that's why.
Well, it pinged off of power, remember? He said it's power related. So if that power
But much of
located
this was
you
not
in,
Mills River, so I don't know if that's what triggered it, that's not.
That was through the county.
yeah, the count, the what rate? My biggest fear is sitting on this council is if we do a standalone system of our own and we was to not notify and there was loss of life or serious injury, we would be susceptible to a lawsuit for not doing so. Now, he might tell me otherwise. He's a professional in this, but my gut feeling is, because I know it's happening elsewhere, that we could possibly be. And we got insurance, but so is that county in Texas, but they ain't got enough.
I wasn't talking about us just doing a system of our own. We've got the rave system that Henderson County has. What I was looking at was a way to notify the residents of all kinds of town things. And in that, you can include road closures when you get them, park events, silver alerts,
Well, what I've heard
things
tonight
going on in the
is he
community.
can do that through the same system.
Well, it ain't happening.
So as a,
We ain't planning on to give him.
We've not given
So-
direction.
yeah, and so I just want to be very clear. There's a difference between emergency and declared state of emergency.
Right.
And so, the only way, the one benefit of being on the rave system, is that when somebody registers to be, let's say they come to our website, they go, oh, wow, rave, all right, I'm going to sign up this alert. They get to see Mills River and Henderson County together and have the option to choose for National Weather Service alert all at the same time. I think it's actually all on the same page. So you're actually able to see all of those, check what you want to be in, and you're there. And so the idea is that then we could potentially ask people to be registering for two different systems, right? Because they're not going to be getting Henderson County specific brave alerts unless they register for it, right? So this allows them at least at one point to have one specific item. Brave also does have a non-emergency side. And that non-emergency side was not pushed out yet because again, we need to have process, the policy in place in order to make sure we tell the community what they should expect. And it also takes some hoops to jump through to get on the non-emergency side. It's a whole different phone number. It's a system. It's a whole thing. We've gotten that approved now. And so my goal is that come, July 1st, I'm using July 1st because it's beginning of the fiscal year, but really, once we get through this time, is to really start trying to build up how we do non-emergency event-specific things. But what that would do is that then people would have to opt in to both emergency and non-emergency essentially. But then we would control the narrative when it comes to, park events, any other town-specific type event. I would still highly caution to do anything around road closures, or like quick type response type item, unless that road closure has been washed out. Right? If it's something that's more permanent that we need to address, that's something that we potentially could add onto the system for, I know Laurel Park, for instance, they use their system, say, hey, this road closure is going to be closed for the next 2 months as we do repair. Those things are very vital. Expecting, I think you would have to change the expectation of staff to push out when there are temporary things that happen like that, which can be done. It just changes. It just needs to be. It would be a large change on staff expectations. Park events, for instance, we plan park. We can go ahead and plan those out for the next year to go out to people who are interested in it. A temporary road closure from rising water. It's very difficult for us to say you can expect that every time.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be in the business of putting road closures and
Well, we
things.
don't
We've
have-
got,
We don't have a streets and roads division.
they're duplicate. I mean, the DOT does it. You can sign up for it. Make sure that the town knows, everybody knows about it, post it and all that.
Biggest thing here is how many signed up for it at Millbrook?
Right now we're at 58.
58. We ain't got 1% of probably the.
58 people.
Yeah,
58 people
we're
so far.
talking, we're sitting
I
here.
thought you told me the other day that they was 60 to 80%.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. At the time I said 60 to 80 because I thought 60 to 80 people.
Okay.
Now again, we have a lot more on the public domain list. Again, there are a lot of that's why the state has declared.
So
emergency so important.
when you say public domain, you can access those numbers for very specific governmental purposes to send out pushes without people being signed up. Is
Yeah.
that correct? So that's like when I get a silver alert or I get an amber alert, it's through my phone, through Verizon or whoever, they're doing that. We don't use that for everything. We don't use that to say it's Mills River Day, come do that. We only do that for very specific things.
Yeah, that's federal law, and I will say that there are some severe consequences if that is abused in any way. That's why I like to set those expectations. But
It's
again,
almost like a reverse 911.
it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
It's reverse what we, so it's like if you need to, if there's a guy who's held up in his house and he's got SWAT teams out there, if it's in a neighborhood, they may send that out to the people
To
in
the
that
people in the
neighborhood.
neighborhood.
That, like,
Mhm.
stay in your house, don't come out.
Yeah.
Which, in those types of situations, I would say there would need to be serious changes on expectations from the sheriff's office and the fire department on when they're going to be informing us for those types of things, or a speed up of even bringing those types of services in house, because again, DOT is not informing us of potential road issues promptly. Right? There's a little bit of there are times and there are delays that are associated with it. If we took over more streets, as an example, and it's our job to maintain them, we're going to know immediately when there's a street problem when we have more control over what we push out. We just rely so heavily on our partners who have quick response available to them that it would fundamentally change what our relationships would be, which can happen, but it would just have to be a conversation.
Don't feel like our staff is big enough to support that more than what money wise, I don't even know what the other would cost us even. We're right here at budget time, but it's a concern of the council, then we need to notify them to put money aside, get to looking at that pretty quick. Activate it the next fiscal year. Also,
What I wanted to do was to bring it up and hear your input. So thank you for that, and they're on their own.
One last thing, I had said when you're adopting the zoning ordinance, it would require that 2/3 vote. And if you didn't get it, you'd have to go to a second one. In 2020 or 2021, it was zoning ordinances were exempted out from that 2/3 vote on the first reading of the ordinance. So on the first reading, if it passes by a majority with all the errata sheets, we're all good to go. We don't have to bring it back just by the majority.
okay.
Yep. So just to clarify. Yep.
Check this. Third.
It's good having you here. We got a dream team with our staff, with our attorney, with our sergeant. You know, we're just very blessed, and I hope everybody out there that's watching.
Can appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to.
I
adjourn
make a
our
motion, we
business.
call it a night.
Second. All right,